So how's the greatest group of realtors in North America doing this morning? Give me a thumbs up or give yourself a clap. You're doing great. And so who's ready to make some money? Give me a show of hands. Who's ready to make some money? Let me ask it one more time. Again, who's ready to make some money? All right, so turn on your cameras. And if you are, great, you're at the right seminar here today. So my name is Dwayne Groom, and my job today is to show you how to make some now money. In fact, there are three things I want to accomplish today. Three things. Number one, I want to have some fun. So are you ready? Even though we're online, let's have some fun. Fair enough? Number two, I want to give you some good information on how to make more money in less time so we have more fun in life and in our real estate career. Fair enough? And third, I want to show you how I might be able to join forces with you at the end of the seminar, maybe show you how to double, even triple your income fast. So a little bit about myself. For those of you who've never met me before, I've been a master trainer for a long time. I started in 2002. Now that's a few decades ago. I've had over 2,500 realtors that have graduated from my 8-week productivity challenge, mostly in Western Canada. I'm located in Edmonton. I've lived in Vancouver. I've lived in the States. I have taught almost every year in Winnipeg, Calgary, Edmonton, Vancouver, and different areas in the Greater Vancouver, from Surrey to Coquitlam. I've taught more there than anywhere, actually. And I've had over 10,000 people in my seminars I include my one-day events and things like that. So just to give you a little bit of credibility about myself, let's move into what I think are 4 different types of real estate agents. You can write this down if you want, but really listen closely to what I'm about to say. How many types did I say? 4. The first type, and if you've been in real estate and hit a level where you're selling 30 to 50 deals a year, you have gone through all 4 types of real estate experiences. The first type is the unconsciously competent realtor. The unconsciously incompetent realtor, excuse me. And they don't even know they know nothing. Yes, I know I may sound like I'm picking on the brand new agent, but the truth of the matter, I was a brand new agent almost 30 years ago. And I can still remember I was excited. I passed the test. Thought I knew all the rules. I knew the act. I thought I could help somebody get a house, maybe get a deal, or maybe get somebody lots for their house. I was all excited and I was working, and months went by and I didn't make any money. Anybody relate to that? And I started thinking, maybe I don't know nothing. And I found out that I was the unconsciously incompetent realtor. I didn't even know that I knew nothing. So I went to my broker and I said, what's going on? Why am I not getting anywhere? And at that point, you would become the consciously incompetent realtor. That's when you know nothing. That almost sounds funny, doesn't it? You almost know you know nothing. I thought I knew real estate, but I now realize I need to take sales training. I need to know how to convert a call into a face-to-face meeting. I need to know how to get a listing, walk into a listing, walk out with a listing if I choose. I need to know how to explain my commissions, protect them, and get people to understand the commission structure. I need to know how to negotiate offers and keep deals together. I need to know how to get conditions removed and go right through to the possession date, to the closing. And I need to know how to follow up with people so I get repeat business. So I realized, oh my goodness, I didn't even know any of this stuff. No wonder I made no money for 3 months or 6 months. Anybody relate to that? Yeah, we're all amongst friends and not, you don't have to put up your hand if you don't, but I could ask you, how many of you don't want to put up your hand and we can get it over with? So anyways, all right, that's the kind of humor I have for you. So, anyways, finally, the broker says, hey, there's a fellow coming to town. He's a master trainer. He does this stuff. He flies in each week. And in our case, we're going to do it online. And we got this event. And then we got a thing where we do every week. Anyways, they said, you should take the course. That'll help you make some money. So I started getting the information, how to deal with people. And then when you understand sales and human nature, sales become easier. And you go from nothing for 3 to 6 months to maybe 1 or 2 deals a month to where I'm going to take you. 4 or 5 deals a month, at least 1 a week for sure. Okay, in any market, by the way. So you become the consciously competent realtor. You're committed to the training that is provided and you're doing it. And if you repeatedly, every week we work together and we're repeating it, you should become what I call the unconsciously competent realtor. That's when you know what you need to do without thinking about it. Who would like to be that kind of realtor? No matter what level you're at, if there's a few people in here, I know I talked to you personally, you've been in real estate 30 years, like me, 40 years. What I love about them is they said, I still have room to learn. I still am doing things I shouldn't do. And one of the most common ones is not keeping in touch with their past clients enough. So here we are today to teach you what to do. And we're going to go over 4 areas and 8 skills of top producing real estate agents. Okay, so like things like how to book more appointments, but specifically listing appointments. I'll still show you how to separate the lookers from the buyers, so you're still going to be fine there. I'm going to show you how to generate more leads. I've got over 10 ways to help you generate leads, even using some zero-based marketing systems. So you don't have to spend too much money right away, but we're going to still show you how to work maybe a geofarm area, how to become the brand of choice in a certain market. By the way, your market, whatever you're going to work, should be smaller, not bigger. How to handle objections and concerns we're going to go over today, 2 specific ones. And yes, including how to protect your commissions. Who would like that to know how to explain that to somebody where they will either not ask you or they're fine paying? Who would like that, right? How to master your attitude, of course, because if you have a poor attitude, you can throw all the other stuff out the window and just go get a job. Sorry, I'm just being blunt. You may not like me every time I say something, but I'm being honest with you. You got to have a great attitude. So we're going to talk, we talk about that mixed in with some good information for you, okay? And we've got so much for you. But before we get started, kind of building on what I just said, we need to talk about a little bit of faith. So a quick story. There's a man walking down the river valley. He slips and he falls. He falls, he grabs onto a vine or a root, and he's just hanging there, dangling there. It's quite a ways down. If he lets go, he dies. So at this point, he thinks he has nothing to lose. So he looks up and he says, and way up, by the way, and he says, "Is there anybody up there?" And a deep voice says, "Do you believe?" "Yes, yes," he says. "Help me get out of this mess." And the deep voice says, "Then let go of the vine." So the man pauses for a moment and he says, "Is there anybody else up there?" He just won't trust on something he may not understand and just let it go. So I'm asking you, I need you to be a little open-minded here. Like, have a little faith in me. If you've heard of me or if you trust that what I said, I've been doing this a long time, helps you. So I need to make sure you're optimistic, okay? And I need you to recognize your opportunities, gang. If you're thinking about something else you're doing today, you're going to miss out on some opportunities. Remember, I'm going to teach you how to make more money in less so you can have more fun. So let's grab your notes and turn this into a seminar. Fair enough, gang? And I've got a PowerPoint to follow. It's very effective. Let me just share it on the screen. And it starts here. I'm just going to make sure that I can see a few of you, but not all of you. So if I ask for some participation, if everybody can do that, I would appreciate it. So show of hands if you can see the PowerPoint screen where it says top producing real estate agents. Show of hands. I can only see, oh, good. Thank you for showing your hands. I just need to know if it's there, okay? And by the way, I'll give you my cell phone number, and I've had a couple of messages already. My cell phone number is 780, write this down, 780-504-1501. 780-504-1501. So if for some reason I get muted by mistake and I'm still talking and you can see that I am, please text me and say, "Dwayne, I can't hear you." Or if you know that I should have something up like on the screen and you can't see it, text me and say, "Dwayne, I can't see it." But do that after you actually check the settings on your screen, okay? And there are a couple of hands up. I cannot take any questions right now. So you will want to either email me after the event or phone me directly or text me. We're just going to keep it as a recording right now. So the 4 areas in our lives are people in our lives, prospects, existing clients, and ourselves. Okay, and before I go into each one individually, I just want to mention to you that my job today, as I mentioned earlier, was to educate you on how to make more money, but also to entertain you. So I'm going to say the odd goofy joke, so hopefully you can laugh. Even if I can't hear you, I can still see some of you, okay? I also need to get you to participate. So sometimes you need to put up your hand or clap or give me a thumbs up, anything, so we can get some good energy out of that. Otherwise, I just feel like I'm talking to my computer. And I want to make sure I motivate you. So my job is to educate you, entertain you, get you to participate, and to motivate you. Okay, gang? And, I don't know, when it comes to entertaining, I remember I was doing a seminar and then we took a little bit of a break and somebody came in a little bit late and they were talking in the hallway and I'm standing there with my back towards him, but I could hear one person say, so I got in a little late. What's he like? What kind of is a trainer is he? Is he good or what's going on? And one of the past students says, well, you know what? Dwayne is kind of reminds me of the cross-eyed javelin thrower, right? He doesn't break any records, but he keeps the crowd alert. And that's keeping you alert with some goofy jokes. So hopefully you laughed on that one, even if you didn't quite get it. I hope you got it. Anyways, we're going to go into showing you how to build a strong foundation here, gang. Okay, so the first one we said was what? People in our lives. That's the first area, people in our lives. And our job is to take care of our family, to love and support your family any way you can. So you need to have a successful home life. I'm just letting you know that if you have a home life and there's things that need to be nurtured, maybe just, I'm just saying, if it's tough at home, you need to work on that so that you can have a business life. Because in business life, relationship sales is the way to do business. You can get repeat business or get referrals from people that are talking about you. That's the best way to do business. That'll help you with growth, gang. And then, of course, community. Keep in touch. You need to have a geofarm area, so pick one, okay, gang? I'm going to give you a bunch of marketing ideas for your geofarm area, even some proactive activities you can do. But you'll notice that nothing on here is talking about the internet at this point. I'm not saying we shouldn't do the internet or social media. We should, but we should be doing this as well, or maybe this first and then start expanding into that. And so all I'm saying again, with your home life and your business life and even your personal life, stay focused. When you're at home, be at home for your family. Okay, gang, can you do that? Yes. And when you're at work, stay focused on work. If something interrupts you from your personal life or family, you may have to leave work to deal with it or see if you could postpone dealing with it till after you're finished working, of course. Don't mix it all up. It's too hard on your head, too much stress. You need to separate your family and personal life from your business life. Everybody got that? Yes? Give me a show of hands, all right? So, it's always a good market in real estate. If you're getting caught up right now because interest rates have gone up and prices are going down and you don't know what the future is, by the way, you should check with your real estate forecast. Every board has a forecast for what it's going to look like by this time next year. Okay, so you should check with them, all right? So it's always a good market for realtors because if you make a few adjustments on explaining to buyers what it's going to be like in the future with interest rates or with sellers on how prices are dropping, or maybe they're going up someday, or interest rates might go down again someday. You just make the adjustments. You still book your appointments and you still help people that need to buy or sell right now. There's two different types of sellers. There's ones that need to buy or need to sell right now because they built a house, they're being relocated, they're downsizing, they're upsizing, they're doing it no matter what. And then there's other ones that won't sell until they get so much money for their home. So which one do you want to deal with? Okay, so I would say the first one, we got to find those buyers. Same thing. If you got somebody who says, I'm not buying until the interest rates are down or until I get a deal, well, you can't do much about that. But a buyer that says, hey, we just got married, we're going to raise a family, we're buying a house right now, right? So let's do the best we can. Let's get us in there right now. You want that buyer? Of course you do. Show of hands, yes? So do you know when you're really in a recession, gang? It's when you're out of balance, when you are out of balance. So like I said, what did I say earlier? You need to have a really good home life. So I have a question for you. What is the number one thing real estate agents hate to do? It's interesting. I just finished coaching a handful of people this week. Okay. I have a coaching program as well. And some of the people take coaching or they take the 8-week program first and then they take coaching. But one of the things that I notice is I can motivate realtors to get very busy. You will be super busy within the first couple of weeks of when the course starts. Problem is, I have to also remind you that when you have a listing and you start marketing it and you have a buyer that's pre-approved for a mortgage that signed a buyer agreement with you and you're working with these clients, that you still have to put aside some time to consistently prospect, because that's the number one thing most realtors hate to do is prospect. But top producers are prospecting every day. They're calling their past clients. They're following up on their leads. They have a window of time booked all the time, like Monday to Thursday for sure, and a little bit on Friday. So for prospects, there's two methods to generate leads. Are you guys focused? Are you taking notes? This is for your business, I said. I already know all this stuff, right? I'm sharing it with you. It's a free event. Get everything you can out of it. Write this down. 2 methods. Number 1 is proactive. Proactive activities. Proactive activities. I'm going to give you 5 very soon. But at least write down that one of the methods generating leads is proactive activities, right? Like what, Dwayne, you say? And I said, well, I'll get to the specifics in a minute, but proactive activities always take time and effort. I'm just going to make sure everybody's muted here for a second, please. Let's see here. Where are we? Got 144 in there now. Yes, there we are, muted. So, by the way, if any of you see yourself unmuted, please mute yourself for the recording if you don't mind. Let's go back to the screen here. And so proactive. All right, so we're going to give you 5, but remember, a lot of the proactive activities, you'll like what I'm about to say. You really don't have to spend a lot of money on them, if any. So how many people here are fine not spending any money? Show of hands. How many people would prefer not to spend any money? Of course we would. Now, hopefully, because you're a business owner, you don't have a problem investing some money to make some money at some point, okay? Show of hands if you can hear me right now. I just need to know because there's a few hands up and I can't take any questions right now. You can hear me? Okay, let me continue on then, okay? Proactive, so time. And the other one is, oops, let me see here, there we are, reactive, I call it. You could call it marketing. And that's where you need to have a good marketing strategy, but you have to have a budget in place. So how many of you would like to get your phone to ring? Where the phone rings and somebody says, I want to sell my house. Can you come over and let me know what it's worth? Or somebody calls, says, I was referred to you by one of your friends or somebody, I've an acquaintance and I want to buy a house. Can you give me a call back so you can help me buy a house? How many want those calls? Guess what? Other than the referral, most of those calls will cost you some money. But it is the best way to do business is for people to come to you. So I don't believe that you should be proactive very often. Maybe in the beginning of your career to build your business, maybe to get yourself out of a slump once in a while, maybe to create some more inventory. So let's see what we have here. Now remember, top producers have mastered this stuff, gang. They really have, all right? So we're going to do the last 2 here. New and existing clients, okay? Now just remember, earlier I said you should have a geofarm area. The truth of the matter is getting involved with your community is very important because our governments are making sure, at our own request too, they're making sure that telemarketing is a thing of the past. They have the national do not call list. So if you're gonna call somebody, you better make sure they're not on that list. You can get fined quite hefty. They're also making sure we can't just email anybody we want without permission. It's called anti-spam legislation. And now in some municipalities, they're banning door knocking as well, okay? And so all these restrictions for being proactive are going away. But hey, that's okay. We don't like doing them anyways, right, gang? You know? So, but there's a few that we still can, so I'll teach you. But the truth of the matter is you don't want to do any of that stuff at some point. You want to make sure that you have new clients and existing clients. You have a geofarm area. You keep in touch with your past clients and stuff like that, okay? So when you're working with your existing or new clients, you want to make sure that you underpromise and overdeliver, okay? Top agents look after their clients. So, you know, even if you're talking to an expired, once you meet them in person, you need to be honest with them, right? And in whatever you're going to do with them, make sure you overdeliver if you get the listing. But, you know, be honest even if it hurts, all right? With existing clients, stay in touch with their permission and keep them informed on the market. So a good newsletter going out every month to past clients, friends, or family should remind them to use you. Doesn't work 100%. I was just talking with somebody who had a relative actually that does get their newsletter that didn't use them. And that was a little heartbreaking, of course, but there's still a better chance for the other people to use them. It just isn't 100% foolproof, all right? So that means that if we make our clients, our new clients and existing clients, number one goal, our number one goal, what'll happen is you'll get more deals. One deal could turn into 7. Who would like to help somebody sell their house and over the course of the next year or 2 end up getting 7 more deals from referrals or repeat business or a neighbor to listing? Who would like that extra 6 deals? I know I would, right? Now, what I'd like you to do is write down something for yourself. What's this seminar for again? It's to show you how to make more what? Money in less what? Time, so you have more fun, and it's to make you successful in this business. So make sure you follow my instructions right now. It's very important. I need you to write down how much of a gross income you want to have by 1 year from now, 12 months from now, okay? I want you to write down how much you want to make in the next year, all right? And just going back here to mute some people here. Let's see, here we are, mute again. All right, let's go back to the slide here. Oh, what I want you to do is just, I want you to write down on a piece of paper how much you want to make. Now, some of you are brand new. I would recommend you try to make at least 100 grand over the next 12 months, even if you're brand new. If you take the 8-week productivity challenge and you're doing the exact same thing that a top producer is doing, you're probably going to get similar results. If you don't get the same income, you're still going to get a good income. So brand new people, right now, write down on a piece of paper, $100,000. If you've ever made $100,000 in real estate already, right, then maybe add another 100 to what you normally do. If you made 200 last year, see if you can try to do 300 for the next year. You guys okay making more money? Yes or no? This would be yes. This would be no. This is yes, double yes. I like that, Sarah. So if you made 100 last year, you got to go for 200 this year. Hey, I'm not going to show you how that you have to work twice as hard either. The interesting part is the more money you make, it forces you to do high income producing activities and actually work fewer hours. Isn't that interesting? Here's what a top producer should do. A top producer that's doing more than 50 deals a year, they probably should have an assistant. Okay. And then all they have to focus on is going on listing appointments, keeping deals together, and going on holidays. Who would like to do those 3 things? Show of hands. That's it. Everything else your assistant helps with. Now, you got to be your own assistant, then you're going to have to do administration, go on appointments, keep deals together, and then go on holidays, but you have to have somebody cover for you when you're on holidays. But isn't that awesome? If you think about it, the more money you make, probably the more time you have off because you have no choice. You can't do a bunch of dawdling. You can't just meet strangers at a property and expect to be able to make a bunch of money and save time, okay? So let me just mute that person as well. All right. So I want you to write down 100, 200, 250, 300, 350, 400, 450, or 500. And there might be a few that have made 500,000 a year. A few times you might say, I'm making $1 million this year. I've seen it before. But whatever suits you, it can't be less than 100 grand. But write it down. Who wrote it down? Show of hands. Let me see. Come on. If you didn't write it down, that's what you can expect. 0. Because I'm going to read a poem to you now. Are you ready? Here's the poem. It says, I bargained with life for a penny, and life would pay me no more. As I sat in the evening and I counted my scanty store. For life, you see, is just an employer who'll pay you just what you asked for. Excuse me for yelling. I have a passion for helping you make money. But once you set the wages, why, you must bear the task. I worked for a menial hire only to learn in dismay that any wage I would have asked out of life would have willingly paid. Isn't that interesting? And it really comes down to this. What is your attitude like? What's your mindset like? If you say, yeah, but, Dwayne, this all sounds good, but as soon as you have a but, that means you don't believe in what I'm saying. Okay. I can tell you everything I'm saying is 100% true. And it's 100% available for every single person that's on this meeting. Every single person. Well, like this, what's the oldest profession in the world? What do you think? Some people will say, yeah, I know what some of you are thinking, but then I'm thinking, okay, which came first, the sale or the fulfillment of the contract? So guess what the oldest profession in the world is? The sale, yes? Sales is the oldest profession in the world. So if we could understand human nature, perfect. So write this down. You folks ready? Write this down. It's very important. Customer service is more important than technology. If you can do everything you possibly can in person, you'll get more referrals. You have an offer to present? Hey, if you do in person, who knows? People might like you more if they see your face, your personality, your smile. They might refer you more instead of a realtor they'd never meet. Sure, they got emails. Hold on. Somebody keeps unmuting themselves here. Whoever that is, please make sure you're muted before you do that. Thank you. All right, let me go back here. Okay. All right, so we're on number 4. Okay, and that's about ourselves. So you just finished writing down customer service is more important than technology. So the last part in the 4 areas is ourselves. We have to make sure that we take care of ourselves. Folks, please, this is a high thinking business. I could say words like stress and worry, but there's also a lot of good things, happiness, motivation, and all that. But everything takes so much energy. So please make sure you're drinking enough water. You know how much you need. Please, even if you have to write that down, I got to drink more water. That is probably the number one thing to help you with some of the ailments we get, from a headache to being angry or hangry, that kind of stuff. Well, hangry would be the next thing. You should have food once in a while. So I know we're not talking real estate all of a sudden, but well, maybe we are. If you have a bad attitude, you're in a grumpy mood, guess what? You can't do real estate. You can try. It'll be extremely frustrating. So take care of yourself. Stay hydrated, eat regularly, probably exercise too, gang. And the next thing is stay extremely positive. Even when the adversity hits you, it has to be like booster rockets. It has to drive you instead of making it like anchors where you just sit there and complain. You with me? Right? You don't even have you don't even have the luxury to complain once you're an entrepreneur. I'm going to show you how to build a business instead of having a job. So it's all on you, and you got to make sure that a lot of stuff just falls off you, like water to oil. They don't mix and all. Like, this adversity you deal with it and it's gone. You deal with it, it's gone. It can't fester and drive you crazy, right? So sure, you need to sharpen your skills all the time, right? And here's a funny story. There's this fella, when you think of somebody who has skills, remember, you want to become the unconsciously competent realtor. You want to be able to do things without thinking, yes? So here you are. Here's this story. The guy's not a realtor, but it's just a funny story about skill, right? So here's this guy who's been single all his life. He's been single and he's 50. And, he's had a few dates and stuff, maybe a girlfriend and this and that, but he's single most of his life. He built himself a house, 10 years ago. This is just a story, gang, and it's just meant to be an example of what we're talking about, but be funny. So hopefully you laugh. Anyways, the fella, he's got a nice house, 2-story, about 3,000 square feet, built it about 10 years ago. And he's not like a hoarder or extremely messy, but he's a guy, so there's stuff around, and there's not artwork on the walls, but there's a poster with the hockey team he likes, or the football team, and big screen TV in the living room, probably a little screen TV in the kitchen. Not a lot of furniture, but what he needs, and he's just used to it. Everything's fine, right? And also one day he actually meets the woman of his dreams, right? Say, aw. And they fall in love and say, aw. Yeah, 50 years old. They get married. Yay, they're super happy. He has the nice big house. They move into his house for their marriage, right? Now, of course, things start to change. His decorating is a little different now because there's 2 of them. There's some ideas from his wife, and things look a little different, but it still looks pretty well the same in the living room. There's a big screen TV, of course, and the sofa in front of it. He doesn't want to change that. Likes watching the sports, the movies, and all that. So one day they're sitting there, they're watching the movie, and without even saying nothing, he doesn't even pause it, doesn't do nothing. He just gets up and walks into the kitchen. She's kind of turned, looks back, and, oh, that's weird. He didn't pause the TV. He didn't say what he was doing. We're in the middle of a movie. He just left. A couple minutes later, he emerges from the kitchen. He has a soda in his hand and a bowl of popcorn. Not a big bowl, like a single portion popcorn. You with me? And 1 soda. And he goes, and while he's walking in, he's staring at the screen. So he's not even looking at where he's going to sit. So he kind of like is maneuvering over. And as he goes to sit, his wife says, "Hey, honey, you just brought one?" And he goes, "Oh, I forgot mine." And he gives it to her. Now that is skill, or what? Without even thinking, he does that, right? You guys, if you tell your wife or your husband that, next time you try that, they're just going to go, "Yeah, right. That was yours. You just said that," right? Anyways, if you got it, that's skill, right? So you need to sharpen your skills. You need to constantly upgrade to be able to do things without thinking. This fella, I don't know where he came up with that skill set, but it worked. So constantly upgrade. So, later on, we're leading towards not only showing you money right now, as we will get to more in a few moments, but also the 8-week program that'll start very soon that some of you might be interested in, right? Doing that 8-week productivity challenge will help you to constantly upgrade. It will help you to master the techniques and dialogues so you can use what we have but still be yourself. Does that make sense, gang? All right, so let's get to learning these skills that I mentioned. So we had 4 areas and we had a bunch of skills. One of the most important skills for you, I have a testimonial that just popped up. This is wonderful. One of my past students, she's taken my course a number of times. Let's see what she says. She says, "I'm a very driven person. I set high goals for myself. In the past, I became overworked, tired, and eventually unhappy. Then I took Dwayne's course and I've repeated it since, and her son has taken it as well. And it worked very well for me. Dwayne's techniques are simple, but very powerful. He helps me get back on track and working smart rather than what? Hard. I recommend his course, just talking about our 8-week course, to everyone. It works. No matter where you are in your career, we all need support, motivation, challenge, and accountability. Thanks to Dwayne's training, my 8 listings sold in only 4 weeks. And Sharon does quite well in real estate. And so let's see where we are. Oh, the first key, the first skill is to master our keys to success. So I know I said there's 8 skills, and now I'm saying there's 8 keys. Don't get mixed up. They're not the same. The 8 keys are the first skill. Everybody's clear with me? Okay. Now let's talk about these eight keys to success, because they kind of show you the 8-week program. Yes, the first day that we work together, I put you on teams. I get you motivated to make money and try to be the top team of the week, maybe even win a trophy each week, that we can show that you've made the most on your team. And we might have a team in Team Manitoba against Team Alberta and Team BC. That'd be fun, right? And just see how good you could do. So the first thing is we got to make sure that we get started in lesson 1, but we have a great attitude. So you got to learn how to give yourself a checkup from the neck up every single day. Anytime you're feeling negative, you just phone me, the trainer. We've got to make sure you stay positive. Otherwise, you're restricting yourself from making money. Okay. You can't make money and then be happy. You need to be happy first, and then you'll make money. Okay. Make sure you remember that. The next thing, we start segueing into the next lesson and showing you how to book appointments. Now, that doesn't mean we don't tell you in lesson 1 how to book appointments. Sure, we do. There's a little bit of everything in every lesson, but the majority of the content is in the numbers that I mentioned. And these are the keys, which are also the weeks. So by the time we've got things rolling here, I've got you focused on talking to more people than you've ever talked to in your life. And if you follow my instructions, you'll book appointments, and you actually book appointments pretty easy, even if you're new. If you're not new, I may be able to help to improve you so you can be on the phone less. Now, I know we're going to try to get your phone to ring and get people to come to you, but you still don't want to lose any of those leads. And if you want to be proactive and you're talking to people who don't really know who you are, there's a lot more rejection. But again, if you're good at it, you can get more, okay? So I think that in the class, sometimes out in the field, you might put leads ahead of appointments. I get that. You might say, I got a great attitude and I'm going to pay for leads to come in, and then I'm going to book my appointments. That's fine. The reason I didn't put it that way for the course, though, is that some people don't have the money to be able to set up pay-per-click leads or postcards going out to their phone rings or outdoor advertising, or, they just don't. So they have to be proactive. They have no choice, at least for now. So I say, why don't you get motivated enough to be proactive? Some people can do what? An open house, maybe try to convert a lead, or they could do some door knocking. I don't like that stuff, to just letting you know, but they could. If they don't have the money, they could make calls. If they have money to generate leads, then you can almost skip part 2, but you need to learn how to convert the appointments anyways, even if the leads are coming to you. So we've got a checkup from the neck up, have a great attitude. Make adversity booster rockets, not anchors. We have book a lot of appointments, get listings, buyers will just fall in your lap. We have generate leads for all your appointments, and maybe get your phone to ring. And number 4 is, once we have appointments, we need to master our presentations with sellers and buyers, maybe even FSBOs, and maybe even expireds. Doesn't that sound great? Wouldn't it be nice to know exactly what to say to them and how to handle their questions and concerns? Of course, once you do get inventory, there's 2 types of inventory. One is a seller listing that you put on MLS. Another form of inventory is when a buyer is committed to you by signing all the forms. I would call them a seller listing and a buyer listing. And when it comes to pricing, if I list a property, you want to make sure that it's priced properly. And you have to make quite a few adjustments nowadays before you list it, because the market's changed so much in just the last 6 months. So if you have a property that's overpriced, we're going to talk about that a little bit, but we talk about a lot in the class. But what you do with clients is you will actually be sitting there. So let me do the mute again here. Not sure why that keeps coming on. Hold on here, just mute everybody again. There we are. Okay, check your mute button again, please. If anybody's not sure, it should say, there's a little blue thing up top there, just says mute. So when you're sitting with clients, you're not going to be going over price right away based on our training. You're going to be talking about it a little later, but you're going to say this phrase, and I want you to write this down. You ready? Thumbs up if you're ready. This phrase is really important to you. Now, this is you talking to a seller. And when you get to price, you'll say, let me show you how most successful sellers pick the right price. That's what you're going to say to a seller. I'll say it one more time. Let me show you how most successful sellers pick the right price. And I'll say it one more time. If you didn't write it down, you'll never use it. I can promise you. If you write it down, or if you're in the training and you listen to the audio tracks and you hear me all the time, you'll probably start using it. Let me show you how most successful sellers pick the right price. And I know some of you didn't write it down the first few times and you went, ooh, this is actually pretty good. So I will say it one more time for you. Are you ready? Let me show you how most successful sellers pick the right price. Remember, this is you, the realtor, saying it to the sellers. And what you're going to do is we're going to talk a little bit about it today, but a lot in our training. And that's going to be how you show them the comparables, how you let them know what the forecast might mean, how you use a net sheet so you can show them. You notice I didn't say tell them. I keep saying what word? Show them. They're going to do a net sheet to show them what they're going to put in their pocket. That's the pricing segment. That's an important key to success. Would you agree? And then the next key to success here on this slide is how to handle objections, objection handling techniques, OHTs. Wouldn't it be a shame that you paid for leads and you get good enough to convert into a face-to-face meeting and you have the proper process, presentation, and you follow the steps and you got right to the end, and then they go and say, well, we just want to wait, or we want to talk to some other agents, or we might want to renovate first, or we might want to sell privately for a while, then we'll get back to you. Or we just want to know if you do it for less, or if you could list it for more, whatever they say. And you either fold like a cheap lawn chair and do what they said, or you go and leave and they talk to the next realtor and the next realtor handles their objections and gets the listing. That would be a real shame for you, right? So you're going to handle objections logically. And when logic fails, you'll switch to emotion. And when emotion fails, you'll switch to logic. So we have a whole session, a whole lesson. And role play is fairly tough to do on our online course. In our live training in person. You know, when I fly to Vancouver or Winnipeg or Calgary, when I fly there, I get you to role play with a person across the table from you. In the online, I get you just to phone your partner. And, you know, there'll probably be about 40 people in the online training, and I'll probably have 4 teams or 3 teams of 13, let's say. And everybody will have the roster, and, you know, one person will have a friend on their team that they want to role play with. And we'll be doing a little bit of that in the class, not a lot. I'm just thinking that if we're going to bomb with our dialogue, if we're going to mess up, we may as well mess up a little bit here first, so that the first couple times that we go out, we have a better chance of getting some success. Fair enough? Okay, so then the next one is business operations. We're going to show you how to take care of your business so your business will take care of you. How many of you would like to make money while you're on holidays? How many of you would like to make money while you're sleeping? I'm not seeing any hands go up. How many of you would like to make money when you don't feel like working today? Right? How many, you know, some of you are raising your hand, your computer hand. I get it. That's cool. The rest of you, you can just, if you have your screen on, it's nice to see the hands. All right. So what we will be teaching you is, yeah, you know, we got to teach you some budgeting, how you pay your taxes, how you put money aside back into your business for your budget to pay for your marketing. We'll also show you how to embrace technology that will be added to your skill set, not replacing a lot of your skill set. Also how to delegate to others. So that's really important as well, right? And finally, the most valuable commodity, time management, gang, our most valuable commodity. And I teach it last because, like one of those testimonials said or will say, that I will get you crazy busy and you will be begging for time management training. And that's about the time you'll need it too, because I have to make sure you have a great attitude. You start booking appointments and then your phone starts ringing, but now you have enough appointments that you're getting inventory and separating the lookers from the buyers, and your inventory is selling and your buyers are getting pre-approved and you're writing offers. And that's all because you're handling objections all the time. So the first 6 is about making that income. But now all of a sudden it gets crazy because you say, oh, now I can see I'm going to make a couple $100,000, but you got to learn how to manage it. Otherwise it gets away from you. And then you got to start saying also, how do I do it faster and save time? Otherwise you have no life. Who wants a life? Of course we do. We didn't get into real estate to make money and have no life, right? You got into real estate to make good money, build some great relationships with clients, work hard at making sure that your personal and family relationships are nurtured and you have time to spend with those people and have time off. Does that make sense, gang? All right. So remember this, the company that controls the inventory or the realtor that controls the inventory, the realtor that has 5, 10, or 15 listings controls the market, no matter what the market is going like. Okay, gang? And, you know, like you need to separate the lookers from the buyers. You know, I know there's so many different ways to do real estate. I'm only going to teach the best way. Is that okay? You know, if I was asking my class, do you want me to show you, you know, all the ways to make money in real estate, that some of them will be working 100 hours a week and only doing one deal a month? Or would you prefer to show me to show you the best way to do real estate and you're always doing a deal a week, working 40 hours a week or less? Which one would you pick? So it's interesting. I'll teach somebody the best way to do real estate and they'll say, yeah, but I do it this way. I'll say, yeah, that's fine if you want to do that. It's just going to take you more time. You'll probably make less what? And at some point you're going to get really grumpy and not be happy. So I'm not going to teach that. I mean, I can give you a few tips on what not to do. The truth of the matter, there's a lot of realtors, for example, meeting potential buyers or lookers at properties. They've never even met them before. They don't even know if they qualify. They don't even know if they're going to be committed to them. By the way, most of that's not legal, but we'll get into that later. So there's a lot of that happening and a lot of deals falling apart. I'm not going to teach you how to do that. I'm going to encourage you not to do that. I'm going to encourage you to work with a buyer that's pre-approved, that's committed to you. You take them all at once, they look at 5 properties and they buy one. Would that be okay? That's way better. Or a listing, right? You get a listing, it's priced right. Even in any market, you get more than one offer. You do the best job you can for your clients, sells within a reasonable amount of time, and the clients are happy, right? So that's what we're going to do here. So, by the way, what do you call an agent that drives around lookers or just meets them at places? And we don't call them Uber drivers. We don't call them cab drivers. We call them wheel estate agents. You notice I acted like I grabbed a wheel? Wheel estate agents. So you don't want to be a wheel estate agent. You want to be a real estate agent. Isn't that right, gang? So let's go on to the next one here. Oh, I want to give you the real estate success formula really quick here. The real estate success formula, it's just the general idea of what your focus should be every week or every day, especially first thing Monday morning. Your number one thought process and drive and motivation every week should be to bring in a saleable listing. Number one. Nothing should be more important than that. Okay, now you may have deals that you have to remove conditions. You may have a buyer that's going to write an offer. All those things are important, but they're secondary. Okay, your focus needs to be, I have to bring in a saleable listing each week. You still have to do all that other stuff. I get that. But watch out for the distraction. People will get distracted and say, oh, I got to work on my website this week. I have a buyer I got to take up tomorrow night. I have, and they have all this stuff and they don't even think about trying to get a listing. Can you all do me a favor? Please try to get a listing each week. Could you do that? Well, we got a good turnout here. We got 155 now. That's really good. So let me go back here to this. So bring in a saleable listing. And the way you do that is by focusing on booking a minimum of 3 listing appointments a week. Let me say it again, because you need to write that down. What's the most important thing for you to focus on? Booking a minimum of what? 3 listing appointments a week. That is the most important thing to do in real estate. Well, prospecting is the most important, but prospecting to be able to book a minimum of 3 appointments. I'm going to prove to you that by booking 3 appointments, and once you're good enough, and that will happen fast with our training, you'll start to get 1 or 2 listings. And when you get 1 or 2 listings, everything else falls into place. Buyers just fall in your lap. You don't have to look for buyers. They're even easier to work with, right? So that's the next thing is once you've focused on bringing in a saleable listing each week, you want to separate the lookers from the buyers. When they start calling your yard sign, we've got a call form that separates the lookers from the buyers, helps you to convert your call into a face-to-face meeting, helps you to sit down with them and go over the buyer process so that you can always use the buyer exclusive or buyer agency forms. So I call it a buyer listing. That's what I said. So you got a seller listing, that's listing a property on MLS, and a buyer listing is when they're committed to you, they're pre-approved, and they've signed the documents. Now, no matter how you feel about it, some people will say, I don't really like to do that. Okay, I understand. I've heard it all. I've heard it all where some people say, I had enough of working with people that won't commit to me. I'm committed to only using buyer agency. I've heard that side of it all the way to, no, they're not comfortable, I won't. But remember, in some provinces, it's mandatory now, but that's another story. And in some provinces, you can actually show and sell your own listings, so you can double end properties. In some provinces, you can't. You have to let another realtor represent the buyer. So you know who you are. There's people in BC. You know how it works if somebody calls on your listing and how you deal with that. And you know how it is in Alberta and in Manitoba. And I may have a few people in Ontario on here as well. So there's the real estate success formula: is bring in a saleable listing each week. Separate the lookers from the buyers. Okay. Always use a buyer agreement and get pre-approval done. And if you can sell your own, now if you're in BC, talk to your broker. You may have to get another agent or the broker involved so that you can only get a referral on that side, but we'll talk about that more in the class. But let's go back to here, for example. It says bring in a saleable listing. How many weeks a year are you going to work? Write it down. How many weeks a year are you going to work? Now, your business should work 52 weeks a year, and I recommend you maybe work 40. You got that? Okay, so put down how many weeks you're going to work. Don't you dare put more than 40. Okay, don't you dare. Yes, I want you to change it right now, 40 weeks. Now, some of you may put less, but just for this little exercise, put 40. Okay, 40. So now, if you're focusing 40 weeks a year on bringing in a saleable listing, at some point, you're going to get one every week. Would you agree? Once you get good. If you had 3 appointments every week, you're going to get one every week. Sometimes you might even get 2, but let's just pretend that you are getting 3 appointments a week and you're good enough with your process to get a listing and it's saleable every week. Let's just, for argument's sake, let's not say, yeah, but Dwayne, or I'm new, that won't happen, or I don't have, let's forget all that stuff. Let's just go with the attitude saying, oh, well, yeah, if I could do it, great. Okay, all of us have 40 listings this year. Okay, now, how many of them are going to sell? Okay, if we're bringing in a listing a week, how many will sell? I think you should be able to sell all of them if they're saleable. You guys okay with that? But just to give you the benefit of the doubt, let's pretend that out of the 40 listings, only 90% sell. Can we do that? Yes? Which means how many? 36. Now, the commissions vary. You could sell a condo in Calgary, a small one, and only make $4 or $5 grand. That same condo in Surrey or in Vancouver, you might get 8 or 10 grand. I don't know. You might sell a 1-bedroom apartment condo in Chilliwack or in Abbotsford and maybe make 6 grand. But just to make the math easy, I'm just doing everything based on 5 grand. So those of you that are right into downtown Vancouver there, your commissions are higher. You can change it there. For those of you in the prairies, I don't think I would go to 8 for the houses and just say, let's be a little conservative here, okay? So if we had 36 listings that sold at 5 grand a pop, that's our money. We made 180 grand. Hey, not bad. And that's just focusing on listings. Then you might say, well, Dwayne, if you don't think you can get 3 listing appointments a week, you may think it's hard. So this may not seem like enough money. But here, this isn't even the best part. Here's the best part. If you get a listing every single week, it's not just the listing that sells. You got a couple other things. You might have buyers that call off the yard sign. Buyers off sign calls. I guess I should word it different. And you might say out of 36 yard signs or 40 yard signs in this case, you might get more than 5, but just being conservative, let's bring it down a little bit. Let's pretend that we got 5 we converted off of 40 yard signs. And again, only at 5 grand. That's an extra what? $25,000. And it gets better. Just because we're focusing on listings, we get listings that sell. We got buyers calling off the signs to probably buy other properties. But the sellers might need to buy. How many of these people you made homeless are you going to help them buy a house? What's the number one way to motivate a buyer? Sell their house. Isn't that right? So out of the 36 listings that sold, how many of those sellers want you to help them buy? It'll probably be 10. But let's do 5 again. So we got 5 times 5. Hey, another 25 grand, right? And you're going to advertise the kajibers out of this, aren't you? Not just signage. You're going to put it on the internet. You're going to put it on social media. You're going to send out just listed postcards. It may be a magazine you want to put it in. Who knows? Maybe some old school marketing of some sort. But it's going to be on realtor.ca and all kinds of stuff. You got a checklist. You might do some open houses, but you're advertising. You have a listing checklist for every listing, and buyers might reach out to you from your advertising. I would say to probably be 15 from those listings or 20, but let's just say again, 5 times 5 grand, $25,000. And there's more. You got to sit here and look at this and go, okay, if I just focus on getting a listing and it sells, I have to help them buy a place maybe, but I might get calls off the signs, and I might get calls off the advertising, and I might even, especially in the prairie provinces, double end this property as well. How many of the 36 will you actually double end? It'd probably be about 10. Now in BC, you have to get another realtor to help you. We know that, but you still get some referral out of it. But you could make 5 times 5 grand, or in BC it'd be 5 times 1,000. But anyways, if you add it up, hey, look at this, 180 plus 100 grand, that's 280,000. I'm being conservative with the 5s. I'm being conservative with the 5,000. The only part that you have trouble believing if you're new is, how do I sell 36 listings out of 40 in 1 year? Well, pay attention. We got some tips for you today, and that might mean you need to take their 8-week productivity challenge, of course, okay? But to get excited about your career, you know what? You have to get motivated. So how do we get motivated to focus on listings and do all this work that I mentioned? You say, well, how do I get listings doing? Well, we got 2 methods we told you. Be proactive. We'll talk about them on, I think, the next slide. 2 more slides, I think, yes. And we want to take some money from every check we get and put it back into our business. About half of that money, it's actually here. You can write this down. I don't mind giving this to you. Let's say, I'd rather give you more and you absorb it and you really say, I want to take the course, you hear it again, and then you're using it and you're doing it and you're making lots of money. But here's what you do with every commission check. You ready? Take 25% of every commission check and put it back into your business after taxes. Take 25% of every commission check, put it back into your business after taxes. And half of that 25% should go to marketing. Take 25% from every commission check, put it back into your business after taxes. And half of that should be used for marketing, for a marketing budget. Okay, so if you made 10 grand, you should put aside 20% minimum for your taxes. You got 8 grand left. 25% of that is 2 grand. Still got 6 grand to live off of. The 2 grand, 1,000 of that should be for marketing if you want to have some control over your business by getting your phone to ring. Make sense? Okay. Now, back on being motivated, you still should have a goal or a reward for yourself. Not a financial goal. That comes later. Or we've already talked about it earlier, and we'll talk about it later is what I mean. I'm talking about a reward where you say, okay, if you're in my 8-week productivity challenge, you're going to come up, you're going to come up with an 8 to 10 week goal or reward. It might be a new car. It might be 2 new suits, a couple grand each, nice ones, you know, nice fancy ties, nice shoes, custom made shoes, maybe, who knows. Might be a boat, a new boat. Come on, let me see if I can get some of you excited about this, because you didn't just get into real estate just to work. You want some rewards. Now, money can feel like a reward, but it's what you do with the money that's the reward. Isn't that right? So maybe you want a snowmobile for the winter. Maybe you like doing winter stuff. Maybe you want a quad. Maybe you want to buy a cabin at a lake. Maybe you want to buy something in Mexico so you can go to that. Maybe you want to buy new lawn furniture, but really nice stuff, and a fire pit for the backyard. Maybe you want that new garage in the back. Maybe you want to develop the basement for sure. But it can't be, you know, like I'll give you a couple of things. So we're doing the free event today. I'm going to let you know the pricing for the 8-week program at the end of the seminar, and I'll give you an early bird special too, and I'll tell you what it is late at the end. And you'll have a day or two to take advantage of the savings. And then early next week, we confirm the program, and the course starts September 1st. That's 2 weeks from today. But we do the early bird special this week, and we do the verifying next week. And then we don't take any more after that. And if somebody did sign up next week, they'd have to pay full price. But we give you some good chances on saving money, on getting in, and then you're in the course. And when we start on lesson 1 on September 1st, I'll say, you need to pick a goal or reward that you can give yourself for when we graduate, for October 20th, maybe October 21st or October 20th, something like that. You need to have it where it looks like this. Okay, the goal is on a piece of paper like that. It's on the back of one of our pages in the manual. There are top producer declarations. And we put, oh, I want a car. And then we put here, we got to get 8 listings as fast as possible. Hey, some of you have never gotten any listings or have had trouble holding or carrying 5 to 10 listings. We'll say, you're going to help me get 8 listings? Yep. We're going to get 8 listings as fast as possible, as long as you don't fight me. Who wants 8 listings right away? Anybody? Show of hands. Like, why not? Let's try. Wait, hey, you may work at it really the best of your ability and only get one right away, maybe two. It might take a couple of weeks and then you get one. But by the time the course is done, we got to make sure you've got all 8 or more. And you want to have a date here. This is an old one here. So you would have October 20th, 2022, and you'd have, I'm committed to my success. And you will actually laminate this. You'll have it while you're in the course. And let me go back to the slides here. And you will, hold on a sec here, put a SMART goal on there. Okay, a SMART goal is something that's specific. So it has to be not only a car, but what kind of car, what color, what year, new, older, whatever it is, what kind of suits, you know, and what kind of shoes, you know, a Rockport, or you want a new watch, what kind is it, you know, you want the new furniture in the backyard. Like if you said, well, my goal is to buy this and it's like $300, I'll go, that's not enough. You got to spend a couple $1,000s on yourself to get, you're doing all the work. Let's reward yourself. Okay. And if you're in the class, we'll make it attainable. The reward is for you, not for somebody else, because you're working. We're going to work together for 8 weeks, but we got to track the results as we go. So we do that with your team. Okay. Just remember, SMART goals give you a lot of energy. Webster defines a goal as the end toward which effort is directed. Okay, gang. So the next skill here is commitment. So let's see, what has Dwayne said so far? Focus each week on bringing in a saleable listing. Separate the lookers from the buyers, the ones that are falling in our lap. Always, if you're going to work with them, make sure they're committed to us. So we've got some forms and we've got pre-approval, and try to sell our own stuff if we can, or talk to our broker, and depends what province you're in, see if they can work it out. But you know, when people call on the yard sign, they don't usually buy the one they call on anyway. So you're going to be selling them something else. So then we talked about having a goal or reward, because we're focusing on bringing in listings, dealing with buyers a certain way. We got to be excited about our career. We've talked about an income, how to put some money aside for taxes. So now it really comes down to commitment. So you need to pledge your goal, non-conditional. So if somebody picked a holiday, let's say you want to go to Mexico, the 2 weeks right after the program, you're leaving on the 21st and you're gone until the 5th. Right when the course starts, if you're really committed, what I would do is I would encourage you to book the hotels for that period 8 weeks in advance. And if you're really committed, I get you to pay for your flights. That way you have nothing holding you back from being excited about working for the next 8 weeks with me. That makes sense? And then you just have to trust. You just have to trust the training. You have to let go of all the pessimistic mindset. We have to be optimistic all the time. Who wants to make more money? If you don't believe you can, you can't. Does that make sense? Do you believe you can make money? So who wants to make money was one question. Now it's who believes they can make the money? Who believes they can do 40 deals a year, or 50 or 30? Who believes it? Because if you don't believe it, I have to spend a little extra time with you, maybe even one-on-one. You have to believe, okay? It shouldn't be, you know, I know everybody's got a few things to break through. I mean, when I was raised, I never had a problem making money, if I can be honest with you, gang. But I was very good at spending it. I mean, as a young boy, I had a paper route in Edmonton, right? Delivering the Edmonton Journal. You know, you're talking 1969 or maybe 1970, 71-ish, making hundreds of dollars a week. It's pretty good for back then. And as a young boy, and then working in a lumber store like Home Depot in high school, after school, to going into the trades, all this stuff, right? But I always thought I had to work more hours to make more money. I never could imagine making $300,000-$400,000 in a year. My mindset had to change. And when I got into real estate in 97, I had to like almost untrain my brain a little bit. It's like it was holding me back. Okay, so you have to trust and let go, and then you need to be to perform. I'm going to tell you how you can perform on the next slide, but you have to say, okay, I'm getting up. You got to get up and go to work each day. When you're building your business, you got to work more hours just to build the business. So now, what do I got to do, Dwayne? Well, every day you should get up, and you're probably going to do some admin, or you're going to look at some of your tools. And then at some point in the morning, late morning, probably you start to make some calls, return some calls, have prospecting time. And then, yeah, you should have some lunch, taking care of yourself. The afternoon, maybe you have some appointments. If you haven't booked appointments, maybe you got to go and door knock because you're new and you don't have any money. Or if you already been in real estate for 5 years, maybe you say, well, I'm going to, get some new postcards set out, and I'm going to get some pay-per-clicks going or whatever. But you start performing. Does that make sense? And you be consistent. So you don't work Monday and then stop for Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday when you're building a business. There's a good book you can get. It's called Good to Great by Jim Collins. I'll say it 2 more times in case you want to write it down. It's called Good to Great by Jim Collins. Yes, it's a great book, and some of my training is based on his ideas, and it's called Good to Great by Jim Collins. And it's a #1 seller. He's got a second book and all that, but that first one, it shows you how to take care of your business so that your business will take care of you. And he talks about this example of a flywheel. So just imagine a wheel and it's turned horizontally. Okay, it's on a hinge there, whatever you call that. And if you push it, it'll turn. Can you picture that? Okay, it's a big wooden one. Okay, so you could have 40 people around it pushing it, but here it's sitting all by itself, and you come up, and this is a kind of an analogy of how we work on our businesses. We come up and we go, oh, let's give it a little push, and they give it a little push, expecting huge results. But we did one push, and the tire or the wheel just goes, and it just slows right down. Right? Can you picture it? Just picture it. Okay. So then we realize I got to push it again. So you push it, and as it starts to slow down, you push it again. And you start realizing that at this interval, if I push it every time, it'll start moving steady. But again, once you stop, it just slows right down again. So how can we get the wheel to spin more often? Well, maybe we start pushing it more often. And that way, when we want to stop, it's still going pretty good, but eventually it's going to slow down again. But let's say we add technology, which is adding like another person on the other side. You push, they push, you push, they push. It's going really good. And then you pull out a bit. Maybe you go on holidays. And the other thing is still pushing a bit. It may still go. It might slow down a bit, but it still might be moving. What if you've added some other components to your business to help to move this wheel along, if you know what I mean, from an analogy point of view? And you're pushing like crazy for 6 months, and the other person over there is pushing, and all these other things. At some point, you can almost let go, and it will spin vigorously for quite some time before it slows down. And you could actually just come in and touch it with a touch and keep it going. I love the analogy that he said, once you got your business built, you just have to go in once in a while and touch it to keep the momentum going. Sounds good, gang? Okay. So just remember, when you're in the class, especially, you don't have to do more than you said. So if you said, Dwayne, I'm going to try to book 3 listing appointments a week, or I'm going to try to handle my buyers this way, or I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. You don't have to do more than you said, just never any less. Okay. So here's another testimonial. And Ken was in my class a few times as well. And so he said he reached his goal. There's a typo here, but it says brand new BMW 528i. During my career in real estate, I've seen many types of markets. From the moment I attended Dwayne Groom's seminar, I finished the first class. I could see my productivity increase from the first class gang. Okay. Dwayne tells you to set a goal. That's what I just said, as well as that reward. Now, the goal is your income. In the course, if you follow the training to the best of your ability, depending on where you're at, if you're brand new, and it depends if you're in BC or Manitoba or Alberta, so the commissions are a little different, but there's no reason why you shouldn't get at least 4 or 5 deals done in the 8-week course and a couple of listings if you're brand new. If you're already accomplishing about that much, you should double it. You should be able to double it during the class, right? And if you're already doing what I'm saying, like 40, 50 deals a year, I get people that come back because in two months, they can do about 60 transactions and then take some time off. Top producer in this course will do 50 to 60 transactions in 8 weeks. Okay, so he said that's the goal thing. But the reward was the new car, the new suits, the trip to Disneyland or the trip to Mexico. So during his last course, he set a goal, but his car broke down and he set a new goal. With Dwayne giving me the tools I needed to increase my success, I got my goal, a brand new BMW 528i. Dwayne gives you down-to-earth marketing techniques based on his success. And when you apply that, you learn, you too will have great returns. So that's Ken, and he was a great student. He pretty well did follow the curriculum right to the letter. So here, to generate leads, the 4th skill, we had 2 methods. Do you remember that? Now I have 5 for proactive, and I have 6 for reactive. Proactive, remember, at some point we will not be allowed to do almost any of this, okay? And again, none of us like it anyways, but I still need to bring up what you can do. Now, the first one you probably will always be able to do, and that's getting, the community involvement, okay? So if you have a geofarm area you want to work, you want to get involved in the community, what could you do to build relationships? You could volunteer. You could maybe, hopefully the fee is not too much. You could sponsor a ball team, or you could volunteer to help the ball team or the hockey team. right? You could help them to raise money, and just your presence. Maybe your golf shirt says ABC Realty on it, and everybody knows you're a realtor, but you don't really talk about it much. But as soon as they need a realtor, they might come to you. So community involvement's not bad. In fact, you should join Toastmasters. Toastmasters helps you to become a better presenter, and it's free. What is that group called again? Everybody should join what? Toastmasters. In Vancouver alone, there's 250 groups. Toastmasters. Everybody, if you want to be a better speaker and presenter, join Toastmasters. Okay, that's one join your local your business association. Go for their luncheons, and you'll be able to network. All of this is free. I mean, you may donate something if you want or whatever. So you got business associations, Toastmasters, sponsoring, get involved in the community. You could also door knock if you want, right? There is a bit of a system of door knocking we talk about in the class. It's about a 10-minute segment. We're not going to do it right now, obviously. We only have so much time, but the system will help you to, if you want to be proactive, help you to convert and get some appointments, all right? You could also set up some open houses. Remember, I said this is proactive. This is meant for somebody that doesn't have any money in their budget to get their phone to ring, or they're in a slump and they need to get out of a slump quick, or they just want to make a little extra so they can put more into their marketing budgets, okay? But also remember, some of the stuff we won't be able to do in the near future. In the very near future, you will not be able to door knock, okay? Just so you know. Open houses probably will change the way they are, not just because of what we went through in the last 2 years with all the mandates and all that, but things they're reviewing how it works for that. FSBOs and expireds, you know, you'll probably be able to walk up to a FSBO for any time you want, unless they say don't enter, don't approach, no agents, please. But FSBOs, expireds, in some provinces, you can walk right up to the door and say, hey, I see you tried to sell last year. It was no success. Some provinces, the Privacy Act works the other way. You're not allowed to approach them, but you can still find out who they are. And the number one way to generate leads proactively is to warm call your sphere of contacts and try to call your neighbor to listings and your neighbor to sales, okay? So I'll say it one more time. The number one way to generate leads proactively is to warm call your sphere of contacts and to reach out to all your neighbor to listings and neighbor to sales. Sounds good? So how would you talk to the neighbors next to one of your listings? Like I said, you would door knock. If you have, if you're with a company that has the telelisting tool, then you can actually get some phone numbers. And we'll be talking a lot of the different options in the class. Most of the proactive stuff is talked about in lesson 1 and 2, and you'll be able to find out what you can do, what you're motivated to do, but you'll probably make money right away if you start doing some of this stuff. But to build your business, we need to get your phone to ring. We need to get it so you don't have to do proactive activities. How many of you are good not doing them, right? I mean, if you don't want to, wouldn't it be nice if business came to you? There's still some proactive things that we talk about in the class when you have your business built that makes sense. I'll tell you a few in a minute, but the first thing you have to understand is the number one way to get your phone to ring is to advertise your listings. Number one way. Advertise what? Advertise your listings. And you need to put your listings, I'll put the screen right back up in a second here, just making sure everybody's muted again. The number one way to, what I was going to say is advertise your listings. The thing you want to do is have a listing checklist. On your checklist, it might start with broker loading and then signage. And then, you know, you got getting measurements and the video and the photos done. And then you need to put it on the internet to Kijiji and Craigslist and YouTube. And then you got to put it on social media. Then you got to send out your just listed postcards. And I'll say it one more time for those of you that are ready, because this is literally your listing checklist. Every time you get a listing, you just do what's on the checklist and you will make money off of your listing. It's not just when it sells, but because of your listing checklist. Okay, so what was the first one? Broker load. Next was signage, right? Next after that, I can't remember, but I think it was, you have a company that usually does the measurements, the photos and the video, right? And then there's just listed postcards in the mail. Then there's internet. On the internet, you put it on Kijiji, Craigslist, your website, the company website, you put it on YouTube. And then social media, you got all your platforms there and your video can go on there as well. And then maybe you email all your investors every listing. Maybe you email realtors that work your geofarm area as well. And so I probably gave you 10 things on your listing checklist already. The number one way to get your phone to ring is to advertise your listings. And the number two way would be here. It's part of what I said in the first one was target marketing. So your neighbor to listings, if they get a postcard and it just says, we just listed this house and you didn't put the price on it, you just put the address, call for more information, you might get some calls, you might get more appointments. When it sells, you could send out another list, just sold to the neighbors, neighbor to sale. And you could put just sold in 4 days for over list price. Now, some of you will say, I tried that, it doesn't work. And hold on, I'm just going to mute some more here. I tried that, it doesn't work, Dwayne. Well, first of all, if you did it all the time, it does work. Guaranteed, for sure. But that's doing it all the time. So what do you think I mean? Well, if you had a listing this month and you did it, you might get nothing. And you got a listing next month and you did it, you might get nothing. And you got a listing next month and you did it again, like mailers and online stuff. You did everything on the checklist. You might not. You probably get something. And then you might say, oh, I got somebody called to sign, but nobody called on the postcard. Then you feel like quitting the postcard, canceling it, because you want to save money. And what I'm saying is do it for a whole year. Do it for 10 listings. And when you look at the whole picture and you figure out what your budget is, you'll look and you'll notice you made money. It was a profit center. And as you continue to do it more into the next year, you get better and better. And then all the top producers do all the stuff that I'm just mentioning. And if there's any that aren't, maybe they're on this meeting right now, they're probably saying, I can't have a conversation with anybody right now because we have to record this and get it done by a certain time. I can take questions after and I'll let you know when. But any top producer will say, yeah, I've been meaning to get a hold of or to get in touch with my past clients. Yeah, I've been meaning to let the neighbors know when I do a listing. Yeah, I've been meaning to send out a flyer when I have a buyer for a neighborhood. They'll say that all the time. And the only thing they can say that would disagree with me is they might say, no, I did try for 6 months and I got nothing. But if you did it again and you did it longer, you'd probably get something. Anyways, we're not going to get into a debate. Just make sure that that's pointed out. Okay. The next thing would be if for advertising, if you could pick a geofarm area. Now, everybody's focused on the internet. You notice it hasn't even come up yet other than verbally. Nothing's come up on the screen. And I'm not saying we shouldn't do any internet stuff, but I'm saying there's an order of things, right? We should do everything. In fact, if you really want to make your business take off right now, you should go involved in the community. You should door knock once a week. You should do an open house once a week. You should go straight at the FSBOs and expireds in your geofarm area. You should warm call everybody in your database, and you should try to get a hold of all the neighbors to any listings you have. And then all your listings, you should advertise the kajibers out of them with your listing checklist. You should even target market to the neighbor to listings with a postcard, anything you can. You should set up a geofarm area, make it smaller to start off with, and send out a postcard and get some outdoor advertising going. And you should keep in touch with your past clients. And yes, you should have a good website and you should advertise on the internet and you should be on YouTube, one of the biggest platforms for realtors, and you should use social media. So I'm not saying pick one. I'm saying when we start the class, let's try to do all of the proactive and try to see if we've got some money to start with the reactive side of things or do all of them, right? And if we do all of them, doing something as opposed to nothing will always get you further. If you said, oh, I'm just going to do benches, well, you won't get nothing. You could even put a hook on 6 benches. You might get a call, but benches will not work to satisfy you by themselves. If you send out postcards around your bus benches, you're probably going to get some business. If you sent out postcards around your bus bench and you started door knocking, you would even get more. If you sent postcards around your bus benches and once a year did a parade of garage sales, you're probably going to get 40 deals a year because of just that. What did I say again? Let me repeat it just in case you want to write it down. If you sent postcards to 5,000 people around your 2 bus benches and you do a parade of garage sales once a year, you're probably going to get enough business to take care of your whole business. Does that sound good? So let's move on here to the next one. The listing appointment process. It's just a quick acronym. So the acronym is the word listing. So listing. Let's pretend that your marketing is going great. You're even good at converting the call into a face-to-face meeting. You're even sending your pre-list brochure. You're sending your pre-list brochure before every appointment for sellers and buyers. And we do show you how to put together your pre-list brochure in the course as well. And you're doing all that. Now it's time to go on the listing appointments, okay? So just remember, your lead-in is from the time you pull up in front of the house. I mean, our lead-in is probably from the moment we could book the appointment. When we book an appointment using our prospecting track for lesson 2, you will actually bona fide the appointments, because we said we're looking for saleable listings. So we got to bona fide our appointments. So we got to make sure all decision makers are present. We got to make sure we have enough information about the property so we can look up the comparables on MLS. We probably want to know what they want for it. Just ask them. They'll probably tell you, or you could just ask them, what price range do you think you live in? You want to ask them if there's any financing on it, so they can get a balance for you when you're there. You're doing a net sheet after all. So you got all that, and you spent money for that lead. You still haven't made any money yet. You haven't even met the people yet. You've already got an investment. That's where you start leading into this appointment. Now, you took training. You're going to pay for my training if you want to take it. And you bought yourself some nice clothes, and you take the training so that you're committed to doing it right. And then you drive over there in a decent vehicle. You get to clean. You got a little bit invested here. Do you agree, gang? You got a few things invested here on this appointment. You haven't even met the people yet. You pull up in front of the house, make sure you do not check the messages on your phone. And by the way, for your listing appointment, do not phone them before you go. They'll just cancel. I'll teach you how they will cancel less often if you follow the training. You don't have to call at the last minute and say, are we still on? They go, oh yeah, we can't. Okay, so we'll show you how to do that. We'll show you how when you pull up, you don't look at your phone and get distracted with something that's not working and get all pissed off and walk into your appointment looking mad. We'll show you how to walk up to the front door, ring the bell, smile, pay them a quick, sincere compliment, take them to the kitchen table, sit down, talk about anything but real estate. And once real estate is brought up, I mean, we talk about Chevrolet or Canucks or Oilers or Jets or Flames or football or whatever. And then at some point, you're just going to say, well, here, let me show you what we have here for today. And you'll just take what we taught you. It'll be on your computer or it'll be in a book, and you'll just open it up or turn it on. And you'll say, I just have 7 things we want to go over to help you to make your decisions. The first thing we're going to do is, and you're going to ask them some questions. It's your way of investigating to see what the problem is that they're going to be faced with. And you're going to be able to offer the solution. And by doing that, you'll get the listing. But you're going to ask a series of questions. And then it's time for you to see the property. This is a little bit of a show and sell thing. Okay, this is them getting to know you when you're taking notes and pointing out the repairs with style, and they're pointing out the features. And you're just listening to them tell you about their house and their plans. Isn't that great? Right? And then you come back to the kitchen table and you go over your marketing plan. This is still kind of selling yourself, because you got to tell them what's in it for them. Everything you do, when they list with you, it's like listing with all the realtors at the board. So when they hire you, they're like hiring all of us. Isn't that great? People don't even realize that's what it really is. MLS is really about. When you hire me, it's like hiring all of us. And you can tell them a little bit. Other realtors are just waiting for a listing like this. They put their criteria in. As soon as I put it on MLS, there's a match. They call right away. They want to see the place, right? So you've hired all of us. This will help you to get more listings instead of them wanting to interview other realtors. Anyways, you'll say, we're going to expose your home to the public. We're going to separate the lookers from the buyers. And then at some point, you're trying to tie this down by telling them what's in it for them all the time. And then you segue into price. After they say they like what they've seen with your company, you want to confirm that. You'll say, well, let me show you how most successful sellers pick the right price. And they go, oh, okay. In my folder here, I have some comparables. And you've highlighted with your yellow highlighter, the sold price, the square footage, the neighborhood, the style, finished basement or not, or if there's no basement, some places are not, garage, parking, a couple things, hand it over to them and say, here, take a look at this one. This one sold last month on the street over there. It's similar to your place. And you get them to participate. You're showing them how most successful. You don't sit there and go, this one sold for, 800. And and they didn't even tell you what they want, maybe, or you don't want to make it a conflict, is what I'm saying. So you're trying to tie it down, right? You show the comparables. And then once you show the comparables, to tie things down, you're going to explain the forms at least. Even if they don't want to list, you should always explain the forms. Otherwise, they just think we're the same as boat salespeople, vacuum salespeople. They don't realize we have fiduciary duties. There's seller responsibilities, realtor responsibilities. There's insurance, there's coverage. There's a course we took, very lengthy, to Real Estate Rules, Real Estate Act. And if they won't listen to that, I'm just telling you, probably won't get the listing. So you tie it down. And if you can't get the listing just from the first 4 letters, the list, then you need to investigate again and find out why they don't want to list. Why do they want to wait? But be professional, be nice, be very educational, gang. Okay. So what is it that you need to think about? Well, we're thinking of talking to another realtor, or we're just wondering if you do it for less. We just wondering if you go at a higher price. We're just wondering, we might just want to wait to see if the market picks up, all that stuff they say. So you find out what it is. And then, I'm only using the N as negotiate and close, but it should mean educate. You're not really negotiating right now on getting the listing, but you need to educate them. And so it is a form of negotiating. Okay, I can appreciate how you feel, just so I understand. Why do you want us to do it for less? Or why do you want us to list it higher? And you can assume it'll all be, well, I net more or I get more money. Yeah, sure. But let them say it again. Okay. So they start telling you, you'll say, okay. And then you isolate it. Is that the only thing holding you back though? You're good with, and you go back to everything you went over. You're good with our marketing. Yeah. And you're good with the price if it wasn't the price. Or you're good with our commissions if it's not the commissions. You're good with the timing, the length of time. You're good with, the terms and all that. If they say, yeah, it's just the one thing. Then in the course, we're going to show you how to say, well, here, let me show you something that will help you to decide or that you need to see. And you'll actually take out a visual for almost anything that they could bring up. You'll actually be handing them something from the course, but it's meant for sellers. And we do have the same idea for buyers. And you could close on it. They might say, oh, you could say, so you can see that we've got that handled. So can we put that to rest? And not 10 out of 10 times do they say, sure, let's move forward. But more often than not, instead of you folding like a cheap lawn chair and leaving, more often than not, they're going to say, okay, yeah, no, that sounds good. And then once you get listed, you should get out. Don't run when I say quickly. I'm just saying you should just start packing up. But, if they sign the documents, you should say in most areas, you would use a key box and a sandwich board. In downtown Vancouver, you don't. Downtown Toronto, you don't. But, you come out of Vancouver into Surrey, they use key boxes more, or Coquitlam. And then most of Edmonton does. But there's the odd upper end property where the sellers want to make sure their realtor's there all the time. But most of the time you have a key box, right? So you say, do you have a key for the key box? Yeah, okay, great. I'm going to put the key box on. I'm going to put sandwich board on front. And I recommend that you go while you're there with a nice suit on. I would door knock a few neighbors, give them your business card, because you know what goes up across the street from a listing, down the street and across the street almost every time? Another listing before you even get back to be able to do some stuff. And you're like, I didn't know those people wanted to list. I would have went over there if I knew. Well, I'm telling you right now, 5 on each side of the house and 10 across the street. If you do that every time, you're going to get another listing once in a while, and you're going to have 2 listings. Who would like 2 listings from one appointment? Now you have to do the other appointment, but you could get 2 listings, right? Okay, so that's the acronym for listing. Listing is the lead in, the investigate, and our sales process basically is a series of questions, preview the property, marketing plan, price and net, explain the forms, address any questions and concerns, and make a mutual decision. So that dialogue you just heard me say, guess what? I'm going to give it to you right now. You can write it down. You can take a snapshot, a screenshot, whatever you want. Sounds fair, gang? Okay. So we're doing pretty good with time here. I hope I've got you on the edge of your seat. I hope you're saying this is good stuff. I don't want to get distracted. I don't have time for anything else. I got to take all these good notes. Yes. What have I got? I got to give you the dialogue to handle objections. I'm going to give you how to deal with somebody who wants to look before they list. I'm going to deal with how to protect your commissions. I'm going to deal with a little bit more about the attitude so you can start making some now money. And then I'm going to tell you a bit about the 8-week program and give you some pricing, and then we're done. So, hopefully we'll be done in an hour or so. But you don't want to miss anything. So when you've worked so hard just to get on the appointment, and then you're sitting down and you're telling them what you're going to do, and then you start doing it. So you ask some questions, then you go over, let me just stop sharing the screen for a second. Then you go over, preview the property, and then you come back and go over the marketing plan, and you show them how most successful sellers pick the right price, and you explain the forms. It almost feels like everything's going good. They haven't got me off track. In fact, if they did try to get you off track, in the course, we teach you how to use the 3R technique. And I'll just give you a good tip here. If somebody's trying to get you off track, let's say they want you to explain something and it's supposed to be done like in step 4. The 3R technique is these 3 words. You ready? The first R is repeat. The second R is reassure. The third R is resume. So the 3 R's again. First one is repeat, reassure, resume. Repeat, reassure, resume. Repeat, reassure, resume. So let's pretend that you just got there and you're asking some questions, and they start saying, well, how much will you do it for? Or how much is our place for? Are we going to need to renovate first? We don't know, or we want to wait. They start, just interrupting. You just say, you know what? Sounds like the commissions are important to you. You know what? It sounds like pricing is important to you. You know what? Sounds like that's important to you. And then you reassure them. I can assure you that in step 3, we're going to go into that into a little more depth. And then R, you say, so if you don't mind, can I continue where I'm at right now? Repeat, reassure, resume. You could use it on your kids. It works great. You might even use it on your spouse. But I'm just saying, you got to do it in a way that's, positive manipulation, if you know what I mean. But for your clients, it's great. It sounds like that's really important to you. I get it. I am going to get to that at some point. In fact, it's right here. I have it in my folder. And if you don't mind, I'm going to continue on with what we're doing. You could be previewing the property and they start asking you a bunch of questions. You say, yeah, no, that sounds like, that's really important to you. We're going to get to that a bit, but if we can just continue looking at the property, that'd be great. Fair enough. 9 times out of 10, they just go, oh yeah, no problem. What's it called? The 3R technique, right? Now, when the time comes to actually handle an objection, hopefully it's when you're at what we call step 6. Okay, so we've gotten into the property, sat down. Step 1 is to ask some questions. Step 2 is to preview the property. Step 3 is to go over our marketing plan. Step 4 is to go over pricing. Step 5 is the forms. Step 6 is to see if they have any questions. No matter what they hit you with, don't cave. Don't do it for less. Don't do it the price too high. Don't do it for a short term. Don't leave because they're interviewing some other agents. Just try this at least. Can you do that? Can you promise me? Show of hands. Can you try? Okay. Okay. So this is what you call it. First thing you do when they hit you with something is make sure you don't fight it. Don't say to them they're wrong. Remember, the customer is always right, even if they are wrong. I hope you agree with that. And the reason that they're always right, even if they're wrong, is that's their mindset, right? And just because you would think that's crazy, they think that way. You can't say that. You can't say that's a dumb idea. I'm overacting here a bit. You can't say that's a bad idea. You can't say you're wrong. You have to say, okay, I can appreciate how you feel. Unless they want you to do it for less, then don't say I appreciate how you feel. But they can say whatever. You say, okay, well, no, I appreciate how you feel. And it's time to question the gang. You say, just so I understand, why do you want to go at the higher price? Well, we'll net more. You say, okay. Or just so I understand, why do you want to renovate that room? I'm just curious. Well, we were thinking if we renovate, we could make way more money off it, right? Now, you're not going to start handling the objection just yet. You're going to be writing down. You say, okay, so you think you can make some more money? Or why do you want to sell privately for a while? Oh, we'll save a bunch of money. We don't have to pay your commissions. Okay, now between you and me, the buyers shop FSBOs to save commissions. But we'll get to that in the class. But you just say, okay, and you let them explain it. Sometimes they explain themselves right through it and say, I guess we don't have to do that. That's why you need to question it. But don't say why. Like if they say, we want to do this, and you look at them and go, why? I remember when I met my wife, we've been together 30 years, married about 26 now. I asked her why on something, and she looked at me and she said, I don't answer why questions. Did you get that? So it kind of made me better at being a realtor too, I think, because I don't ask people why. I would just say, just so I understand. You might say it longer version, just so I understand. I'm just curious why you want to do that. So instead of just a direct why, some people don't appreciate that. So you want to isolate it, okay, so is that the only thing holding you back? This is a review of what I'd said about 5 minutes ago. Is that the only thing preventing you from making a decision? Yeah. So if I could show you that by overpricing, it could hurt you with your plans, would you still do it? Well, and they say yes or no. If they say, yeah, I still would say, you'd still say, well, let me show you something to help you. Let me show you something anyway. So it doesn't matter if they say yes or no, just say, let me show you something anyways. You need to know this. There's people that say we want to look before we list. If we like something, we'll put subject to the sale of our house. They don't know what you guys know or what you're about to know. So you say, let me show you something so that if we do something in reverse, or let's pretend we do it that way, this is what you can expect. So then you show them something, you give them a visual, and you go through it together. You're showing them, not telling them. Remember, make the note of that. We are always showing people stuff. And we are listening to them and paying attention, and we're not just telling them. They don't hear you when you tell. Gang, I'm serious. I know that I can be loud on this sometimes, but I got to tell you, you could be rambling on about all the best things in the world that you think would help them. And half the time you're talking to inattention. You're talking to somebody that's thinking about something else. They didn't even hear nothing you said. So the best way to know that they're listening is for you to get them to say it. Okay, that's advanced salesmanship right there, gang. What is it again? The best way to find out if they're listening is for you to get them to say it. So, and then finally you can close on it. That makes all the difference, doesn't it? So we're going to use the dialogue. And remember, you can only handle one objection at a time. You might even use the puppy dog look sometimes when you're talking after you've explained some things. You say, that makes all the difference in the world, doesn't it? And see the eyes, see the look. the shrug, you know, and they might go, yeah, I guess so. And say, okay, so we can move past this now. And they might say yes, they might say no. But, you know, if you're one of the realtors that's sitting there and saying, yeah, but does this work 100%, Dwayne? Nope. Simple as that. None of this stuff works all the time, but it all works what? Some of the time. Everybody's got that? Yes. Okay. So if you're doing something that never works, what's the definition of insanity? Doing the same thing over and over, but expecting different results. So let's do it different and get better results, but it's not foolproof. Okay, gang? So you got to get over that right now. Like the cup is half full or half empty. It's always half full. Are you a pessimist or are you an optimist? Pessimist looks for the opportunity in things that are difficult. A pessimist looks for the difficulty in all your opportunities. The optimistic person, the optimist, looks for the opportunity in difficult things. Does that make sense? It's the opposite, okay? So let's deal with this one here, the buyer conversion. Okay, so the buyer conversion is, let's pretend you go on an appointment, maybe it's a listing appointment, they say, we would really like to look before we list. We're not comfortable. So what would you say? Well, you'd first say, I appreciate how you feel. Just so I understand, why do you want to go look before you sell your place? Well, we're just be more comfortable if we knew there's inventory out there, that there's actually, you know, now just between you and me, gang, when you're talking to somebody that needs to sell and buy, you still want to make sure when you list their house that they, if it sells, that they're going to be approved to buy. Last thing you want to do is sell someone's place and they can't buy. So there is a little bit of a longer process. You can't just list it. You want to make sure. And while you're getting the pre-approval process done, you can do a quick search just to see if something similar to what they're looking for is around. It's available, even if you had to go and get the listing yourself somehow, or maybe there's stuff on MLS. So just for their peace of mind, but not to go look. You don't want to do that. And I'll tell you why in a second. So let's pretend that they say, well, we still want to go look. You say, okay. And so what's the dialogue again? I appreciate how you feel. Just so I understand, why do you want to do that? Well, we want to do it because this, that, and you know, and it's okay. And that's the only thing holding you back from listing right now. You want to confirm they're good with the price. They're good with the length of time. They're good with the commissions. They're good with the chattels, with the terms. They're good with everything. Yeah, we're fine with everything. Okay. So if I could show you that by doing it reverse, it actually might cost you money, would you still do it? Or could I show you something to help you to decide? You know, I just want to make sure you know what could happen. And hopefully they say, sure. Now, your job isn't to convince them to change their mind. I mean, hopefully that happens. Your job is to let them know the facts so that even if you did it in reverse and some of this stuff didn't work, they know they were told about it before. Otherwise, they're going to be mad at who when they see all these things blindsiding them? They'll be mad at you. So you say, well, here, let me show you something to help you to decide. And you'll show them this, and I'm going to do this. And then after that, of course, you will say, that makes all the difference, doesn't it? And you might get the listing. And then you might, and there's a certain way to do it, right? So you hand this page over to them. You say, okay, so we've got your present home right here. And then we got the new place that you want. Okay, that doesn't necessarily mean a new house. That means their newer place, okay? And the prices vary from BC to Manitoba. I've seen apartment condos, 1 bedroom in downtown Edmonton as low as 150, and that same one in downtown Vancouver would be over $1 million. Okay, so we can't get hung up on the difference in prices here right now, okay? So if my price is a little low for one of you and high for another one, you can put in whatever price makes sense to you in your marketplace, but don't let that deter you from understanding this process. Fair enough? So this price is probably more an Edmonton and Calgary price for not even a house like that. That house there would probably be, you know, another 200,000-300,000 higher. In BC, you'd probably have to add a 1 in front of that 450 or even more. But prices have come down. I was teaching in Coquitlam in February. The average sale price was 1.8 million. By the time I finished the course, the average sale price was 1.6. and if I was to talk to some of you in BC and Coquitlam, right, or not Coquitlam, Cloverdale is what I meant. In Cloverdale, you'd probably tell me the prices dropped again. But let's not worry about all that pricing stuff. Let's just talk about this. So for those of you that are in Surrey and BC and Vancouver, you might put 1.45. Alberta might be okay at 450,000, and Manitoba might be 350. So that's basically how the pricing works. And it's not perfect. But let's say you did your presentation and you did your net sheet at 450, and maybe they're going to net 250 grand. But you've agreed on a price. You can't show this before step 4 and 5. So if they interrupt you in step 1 or 2, you use that technique. What is it? the 3R technique to tell them we'll get to that when we do the pricing segment. So when you do the pricing segment, if you agree on a price, then you can talk about this. If not, then you got to keep talking about price. So the first thing is we have the price of your home. When you're ready to list, would be around 450, and you guys are moving up. You guys want to find something around 850. You want a triple garage, and you want all this stuff. Okay, so I'm just going to kick with these maybe Alberta prices. And again, in BC, it'd be 1.45 to maybe 1.8 or 2 million or something. I don't know. And in Manitoba, you guys can make the adjustment. So let's pretend that we go out and we find the place you want. Now, if they say, if we have a problem getting this place, we'll just keep looking, just say, okay, I understand that. But I'm just saying, let's pretend that we found the place you want. Make a note of this, gang. Mentally, when people find a place they really like, mentally, they start moving into it. I would highly recommend you write that down so that you can let people know that. What did I say? Mentally, they start moving in. If you didn't write it down, you'll never remember this. I'm telling you right now. So when you're talking to them, you say, so if we find you the right place, let's pretend we do it in reverse. We know you want to sell yours at 450, and we go out and we look at places around 850, find one you like, and mentally you start moving into it. And you want to write an offer. Now, if there's no other offers coming in, it's not a hot market, let's say, and you have the opportunity to be the only offer, would you offer full list price right away? And they'll probably say, well, no. And you say, well, how much, let's pretend it's priced right. It's worth 850. It's not like we're 750 and it's listed high. It's listed really good. It's brand new on the market. We just happen to be the first one to be able to write an offer. I'm going to teach you how you can get people to offer more so they pay less, but that's another part of lesson 5. But here's the thing. I'm just saying, generally, you say, so, would you offer something decent? Yeah, something decent. Maybe we'd offer 820. So they're trying to save how much money? They're trying to save 30 grand. Okay, so make sure you wrote this all down. If you write this down, if you take this and you drew 2 squares with a house inside of each one, and you put the number 1 and 2 and then $3 signs and put lost, and you start drawing this out. When you look at it after the seminar, you'll remember it. You might even keep it when you're talking to people and use it as a guideline to explain this to them. And it'd be a real shame for you not to explain it to them and you do it in reverse. And then what I say could happen happens because they're just going to be mad at you. So let's just go back here and say, okay, so you'd offer 820. So you're trying to save 30,000. I get that. So you'd want me to write an offer at 820, and you'd want me to write subject to a certain conditions, right? Home inspection, financing, and subject to the sale of your house, right? They go, well, yeah. You say, okay. So I'm going to give you a few stats that I heard at NAR and CREA and different seminars and my own training and all that kind of stuff. And you're going to let them know that if we write an offer that's less than list price and it's worth it and it's new on the market and it's subject to the sale of your house, you guys write this down. From NAR, CREA, 7 out of 10 will reject the offer. That's a stat. 7 out of 10 will reject the offer. You got that? So you say, so 7 out of 10 will just say, no, sell your place and then come back. We're not tying up our house, which leaves 3 out of 10 that will say, oh, maybe we'll counter that and maybe we'll work with you, right? And they'll say, yeah, okay, so if we do, we could get a counter. Yeah, but what they do is, since you're the only offer and it's fresh on the market, is typically they won't give you your 30,000 savings. They're going to counter at full list price. It's very common. We all know that's true. And what they do, now pay attention to the screen, gang. What they do is they also add some conditions. Going back, first thing they'll do is they'll say, your property's already on the market, isn't it? And then we got to say, no, it's not. And they're going to say, well, one of the conditions or terms is that you have to put your home on the market within a couple of days. Okay. And that makes sense. Why would they tie up their house, wait for you to sell yours when yours isn't even on the market yet? They'll say, we want it on the market right away, or you should have it on the market. So before you even go do it in reverse, you'll tell them we may as well put it on the market anyways, because their realtor is also going to want to know if it's what does that show on there on the screen? Everybody sees that on the screen? Can you see it? Show of hands. No, a few people can't see it. They want to know if it's priced right. So you can't put down room to negotiate or anything like that. Their realtor is going to go, oh, hold it. You got it on the market, but it's way overpriced. So we're not interested in that. It has to be priced right. And then they'll say, we've also added a clause to the offer. Could be a 24-hour clause. Could be a 48-hour clause. It could be a 72-hour clause. Typically, you'll see a 24-hour clause. And the clause will be that there's pointing out that we will work with you at full list price, as long as your home's on the market and it's priced right, but we're going to still try to sell our house. So that if we get an offer, now I know at some boards you have to do certain things to make sure you're still trying to sell it, but let's not get into that right now. But if we get another offer, we will let you know what the offer, or let you know that we have an offer, and you'll have 24 hours to remove all the conditions. If you don't, your deal is null and void, and we can go deal with the other people. Okay, so that's not even the worst part now. You have to let them know that 7 out of 10 will reject, 3 out of 10 will counter at full price, and they'll want it on the market, and they'll keep trying to sell. And if they get an offer, they'll let you know you have to remove all the conditions. So now, since you mentally started moving into this place and you love it, your family especially wants you to get this other place sold quicker. So you need to not tell them, but you need to ask them, what do you have to do to your price if you need a quicker sale? And you need to wait for them to respond. That's advanced salesmanship. So what do you got to do to get a quicker sale? Well, if we really want this place, yeah, I guess we'd have to lower our price. And you say, yeah, but how much? They might say 20, 30, 40 grand. So they said, well, I guess we'd have to lower it. Yeah, how much? So, well, maybe 20 grand, do you think? And I say, maybe. But by doing it in reverse, there's a potential to actually lose about 50 grand. Now, it won't be 50 grand. If they didn't do it in reverse, you say, so why don't we do this? I don't mind. I got what we can do is we can put your home on the market. And when we get an offer, we can try to have a longer possession date. That's no problem. We already know there's properties that you would be interested in on the market anyways, right? So if we can get the most money for your property, as soon as the conditions are removed, then we go out and look, and then I'll line up the dates. I've done it so many times. The chances of lining up the dates are great. Maybe sure we can come up with a backup plan, but at least you're not going to lose a big portion of that 50 grand. In fact, maybe you get closer to 450. So there's 20 grand that you didn't lose. And maybe we can offer him 830 and we level off at 840. Now we've actually, instead of losing 50, we're ahead about 30. So what do you think, right? So they might say, yeah, okay, I get it. Now, if they say they still want to move forward with doing it in reverse, I just want you to know, I just want you to make sure you've told them what might happen. So that seems fair, right? Just to let them know what might happen. So now let's pretend you're doing it. And let's say something like this happens. They're all excited about moving into the place. They got their home on the market. They even lowered the price. Then they find out that the other place, or before that happens, they get an offer in their place, of course, subject to the sale of that house. I call that the dominoes effect. That's what that symbol is there. If you want to write down the words dominoes effect, I'm just going to mute everybody here again. And there we are. And go back to the screen. And the worst part for the realtor is that if all of a sudden the other place gets an offer and the deal falls apart, sometimes they can be pretty devastated. In fact, some of you have heard this before, where the seller, the husband, calls and says, my wife is so upset. She's so disappointed. We wanted that house so bad. And you'd say, that's no problem. We can go and look for another one if you want. No, you know what? We decided we're just going to take a break right now. That took a lot out of us. It took the wind out of our sails. We'd like to take our home off the market right now and just take a break, and we'll get back to you. And you can put your lips together and kiss that one goodbye, gang. I can tell you right now. And if it doesn't happen all the time, it happens enough that you will never want to do it in reverse again, just because that is a horrible feeling to think you got two deals and you end up with none. But worse yet, they won't even talk to you again. So that's a real tough one. Would you agree? Now, if you want to take the chance and try it, you know, you're new in your career, we'll have a conversation a year from now and you'll go, yep, I'll never do that again. So let's move on here. What's another objection that you could get hit with? Oh, another testimony. Well, let's do this. Let's do this one here from Sam. He's been in the course quite a few times. So over my last 6 years in real estate, he's attended Dwayne's classes 4 times. Somebody say, why did you do the 8-week course 4 times? Well, in the 8 weeks, they make more money than they do in 6 months. So every year when I do it, I try to do it once a year. And now that I'm 60, I won't be traveling like I used to. So I might do an online course once a year, maybe twice a year. Like the next one, you know, one's coming up September 1st. To be able to get big enough, large enough people for a class, I have to wait 6 months. So if you're thinking wait for the next one, you may want to revisit that thought. So he says he did it 4 times. I would not be the realtor and business owner I am today had I not made the decision to invest the time and money in his programs. Each time I take his course, a different aspect that I forgot about or started to neglect is strengthening by my system. I mentioned that before, didn't I, gang? I can only guess at the amount of commissions I've earned as a result of Dwayne Groom's courses. To say it is any less than $1 million would be a short-changing the reality. Now, the $1 million, you're not going to make $1 million in 2 months, gang, but it may increase and get you to be doing real estate the right way that you could start making $250,000 a year. So over 4 years, you might make $1 million more than you would have. Whether you're 1 month or 20 years in the business, you will pick up something from Dwayne that will forever affect how you do real estate. Okay. So let's talk about protecting your commissions. Some of you have been biting at the bit for that. I get it. We think that that's an issue. I want to let you know that I've been teaching for decades. And I'll admit, when I first became a trainer, and even when I was a newer realtor, I used to think some sellers had a problem paying commissions. And there are some. I'm not going to dodge that. I'm letting you know there are some. But what I did find out after I became a trainer for a while is that realtors have more of an issue with it than sellers. It's almost 10 times worse in the industry. And if you can get over that, you'll have 10 times more success in people not even asking you if you'll do it for less, let alone you doing something and them still wanting you to do it for less. So some of the things I'll share with you right now will help you if they directly ask you to cut your commissions, what you can say, and it will increase your chances of getting your most common commission. Now, remember, commissions are negotiable in all provinces. There's no set standard sort of thing. Commissions are negotiable only down. Is that right, gang? No, of course not. Commissions are negotiable down or up. It just depends what's going on, okay? Now, I don't recommend you go down ever, okay? Not even $500. That's just my feeling. You don't have to. And the principle of it to me says you should walk away, but that's me. Now, you may make the odd exception, and some of it will make sense, but I'm just letting you know you don't have to. You honestly don't have to. In fact, if you follow some of the stuff I teach, you might even get more commissions based on the seller wanting to do it. Some of you wouldn't believe that, but you're going to have to start believing and you will see the results. The other thing about commissions is that if you don't feel that you're worth it, they can just smell it. They can feel it if you don't believe you're worth it. And you have to get over that too, gang. You have to know that you're not only worth it, you're probably worth even more. And you have to work on that. I can help you, but really the end result is you saying, I am worth it. Worth every penny, if not more. So to protect your commissions, just remember, if you do give up your commissions once, based on people talking about you, you can never go back. Like let's say you decide for one of the family members, I'll do it for, so commissions are negotiable, but they are different everywhere. Let me just mention something. There's only 2 places in all of North America that reduce their commissions dramatically after $100,000. Yes, you did hear me right. There's only 2 places out of all the provinces and states. There's only 2 places in all of North America that dramatically reduce their commissions after $100,000. And it's not California. They charge 6%. It's not Toronto. They charge 6%. I'm talking about the most common commission, not written in stone. Florida is 6%. Arizona, I lived there. Phoenix, 6%. Manitoba, they have tried to do 6%, but 5% is a little bit more common. And do you notice I didn't say anything about after $100,000? None of those places reduce their commissions after $100,000, right? Nowhere. The Maritimes, Montana, Washington, Idaho, Hawaii, all of them have 1%, like 1%, meaning 6%, 5%, 7%, whatever. There's only 2 places that that most realtors commonly cut their commissions after $100,000. That's Alberta and BC. And I feel that should change. That's just my opinion. You'll see in Alberta, you'll see commissions at 7% on the first 100,000, which are fairly common, and 3% on the balance. You'll see in Manitoba, 7% on the first 100,000 and 2.5% on the balance. And everybody can justify why and all that kind of stuff. But there are some of my students, even in BC, that get 6%. So on $1 million property, that's $60,000. They offer 30, and they, keep 30. Now let's just go with what's most common though. 7 and 2.5 in BC, 7 and 3 in Alberta, and 5, which is 5 and a 5, 5 and 5. So on $1 million property in Winnipeg, they get $50,000. They're getting paid way more than you are in Alberta and BC. The only reason I say this is we need to wake up. We need to say, okay, let's make sure that we are getting at least what the most common is, which is 7 and 2.5 BC, 7 and 3. Because if we go and we say to our, even a relative or a friend or somebody we give a break, and we say, you know, we'll do it for 5 and 2, or we'll do it for, you know, 3 and 3, or we'll do it for whatever. If you do it for that person, when they refer someone, that person comes back and says, yeah, I heard you did a great job for Joe. And he said, you're a great realtor, so can you come and list our house too? And you go over there and then you start telling them you charge 7 and 3. They go, well, hold on. You did it for 3 and 3 for Joe. Oh, no, that was just for Joe. We can't do that for you. They're not going to use you. So once you do it once, you can't go back. Does that make sense? It hurts the profession in this way, gang. It can create dissension. And it's like this. If you only charge 3 and 3, then you can't offer half of 7 and 3. You can't offer 3.5 and 1.5. If you do, there's nothing left. So what some people do is they cut the commission for the buying agent. And if you do a search, you'll see the most common commission offered in Alberta is 3.5 and 1.5. But there's some that'll say 2 and 1 or just 1%. In BC, they don't do 50-50. And now remember, that doesn't mean you can't. That just talk about what's most common. You'll see 3.66 and or 3.22 and 1 point something. I can't remember. I know it's not exactly half of 7 and 2.5. And then if you do a search for more properties, you'll see there's a few that only say 1%. I like one thing about the Lower Mainland though, when the market's hot, I see some pretty big commission bonuses. I must admit, for the Lower Mainland, I've seen up to 50 grand or even 100 grand as a commission bonus, which is crazy. In Alberta, I've seen, you know, 5 grand or 2%, same as Ontario or Manitoba. And but when you see a listing, let's say you print off 5 or 6 properties, and we're going to get to that, and one of them is a lot less than another one. How does the realtor feel about that? We'll talk about that in a second. But it does hurt the profession. Okay. Bottom line is, if you can't protect your commissions, you shouldn't take it out in the industry. You should still offer 3.22 and 1.66, or 3.5 and 1.5, or 2.5 in Manitoba. You should still do that. You should take the hit instead of making yourself look bad and making people not want to show your properties. They're supposed to, but when we talk about real life, you know what I'm talking about. Okay. Okay. So we know what the council says. If the clients want to see it, even if it's not paying anything, but in real life, I'm just telling you how we feel. We just don't like it. And when we see that, oh, okay, if I do it for 5 and 2, I'm giving away all my profits because I still have the same expenses, the same office fee. Every penny that I cut comes directly out of my profit. So it is your choice. I'll give you that. It is negotiable. But why don't I give you some techniques that if you explain it with the seller, they might say, oh, you know what? No, we won't do that. We're good at 7 and 3, or 7 and 2.5, or 5. Now, for any of you Manitoba people that are saying 4 is more common, don't say it anymore. Say 5 is more common. You will get them more, and I'll teach you how. Okay? I heard that that's starting to happen now, and I don't want you to think it. I don't want you to think less than 7 and 3, or 7 and 2.5, or 5 in all these provinces here. And if the people give you a hard time, I want you to try to get more, and I'll show you how. All right? I know I get a little loud, and but that's so. Let's see here. What's a couple of ways to protect your commissions? How many of you would like it where you went in and they never even asked you, and they knew they're paying 7 and 3, or 5, or 7 and 2? They never asked. How many of you would be okay with that, right? Okay, so you can raise your electronic hand or your hand like this. Okay. In fact, I'm going to drop the screen here for a second. Show of hands any way you can. How many of you would be just love it if they never asked? Come on. And if you have to put your video on, we've got 130. Oh, we lost 6 people. Oh, I guess I got boring for someone. So you don't want to do that, right? Okay, let's go back here to the screen. So to get them not to ask, not 100%, but it will work some of the times. I got so many people here without their camera on, I can't see anybody. There we are. Now I can see Vinay, Mariam, Mike, Amar, Nevin, and Arnie. You know, so I got some people, I got an audience. See, when I share the screen like this, everyone disappears. And I'm an extrovert, man, I need to see you. So thank you for putting on your camera there. So let's see here. So how would you get it where they won't ask? Write this down. Consumer confidence. Write it down. Consumer confidence. Okay, so let's pretend that when they go online, they see your name everywhere. consumer confidence, yes? Let's pretend that when they check their mail, you're in their mailbox all the time. There's somebody that's in my mailbox all the time. He does 500 deals a year. There's a postcard. You see them all, gang? Show of hands if you can see it. Yeah, look at that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 months in a row, a postcard. Okay? If it didn't work, he wouldn't do it. Right? You've seen other people with more than one postcard. So you got an online presence. You're in their mailbox. They see your bus bench. They see your yard signs. They see you do a parade of garage sales. They see you involved in the community. You've even said hi to them. Wow, these people, what do you think they think of you? They may not even think of cutting anything. They might still, but that helps. Consumer confidence is one thing. Next is when you're on the phone, converting the call into a face-to-face. If you use the prospecting track that I'll give you in lesson 2 to put on your wall, the professionalism of that also will get them to put you really high on their respect scale, if you know what I mean, or how bad they want you. And before you go, you will always send a pre-listing brochure. It sells yourself in advance about your bio, your hobbies, your company, your board, 10 questions to ask a realtor they have before they hire them, and a little bit on front. So even before you get there, they've heard all about you, right? The chances of them asking you is pretty nil. But if they do, remember, even when you get there, you're going to carry yourself a certain way, right? You're going to have this confidence, not overconfidence, but confidence that they can appreciate. Appearance is important as well. You can't go walking in with ripped jeans and shaggy hair and just scruffy. And, you know, you got to be groomed, if I can use that pun, because my name's Dwayne Groom. Anyways, you want to be, you know, looking pretty good, isn't that right? And then you want to sit down, and when you go over the forms, you have the commissions pre-printed in advance. It's one of your first techniques. And when you do the net sheet, you'll also say 7 and 3, 7 and 2.5, or 5. They say anything about it. What can you do it for less? Use the what? 3R technique. Well, it sounds like commissions are important to you. And you know what? After we finish this part here and the forms, we can talk about that. So if you don't mind, can we continue on with the net sheet? Can we continue on with the forms? Can we use the 3R technique, gang? This, like, if you really could see how much this is going to impact your career just for paying attention for 2.5 hours or 3 hours, right? Taking good notes. Not only would you probably take the course, but you'll also realize how important it was for you to have your phone off right now and listening to what I'm saying. Okay, so pre-printed in advance. Sometimes they haven't asked you at all through the whole thing, and you get to the forms and you say, okay, and so my remuneration is what it's called, or my commission is 7% on the first 100,000 and 3 on the balance. And then you carry on. You've set it, you carry on. And we're going to list it until January 18th. And you finish talking what's on the page, and you say, do you have any questions? They'll probably say, no, we're fine. But they might say, well, could you just do the commissions for less? You want me to give you one of the best ways to handle that objection? Just say no. Go ahead. Don't unmute yourself. Just turn, look at the wall, and just say no. Do that right now for yourself. Come on, let's do it. Just let yourself hear you say that word. Half the realtors in the industry can't say it. No. Go ahead, say it. No. Maybe even expand on it. Say, no, but do you have any other questions? Don't say no and get all mad. You go, no, but do you have any other questions? Guess what? About half the people that you said no, but do you have any other questions? Half of them will say, no, I just had to ask. I'm good. And those of you who are new won't even believe me. I get it. But those of you who've been around for a while, you know what I mean. You said no to somebody and they said, yeah, I just had to ask. I was just curious, right? So, boy, a lot of people have their cameras off. Oh, all right. So hopefully they're here, because when their cameras are off, I just assume they left. So let's go back here to just say no. And then the next one was the commission bonus. So I'm just going to flip to the next screen and come back to this one here. And it's called the commission bonus. So this one here is a really good one as well, right? So, and I think I got the, okay, no. So the commission bonus is, let's pretend that we got to step 6 on the listing presentation, and they said, no, we're good with everything. We just want to know if you do it for less. And you say, about how much? And they say, well, the other guy said they'd do it for 6 and 2. Would you do it for that? Now, this scale here is based on, for Alberta and BC. If you're in Manitoba, I would put 5, 4, and 3. And you can mix it up. I'm just using this for training purposes. So when you when you all print off 6 properties, you're going to see realistically in Alberta and BC, probably 4 or 5 will say 7% on the first 100,000. And only 1 or 2 will say, less than 7% on the first 100. And if you don't believe me, then just go ahead and look on Paragon or Matrix, wherever you are, and you'll see that probably 70% of the listings are 7 and 2.5 or 7 and 3. In Manitoba, if you put 5s, you have 1 or 2. Let me just get my picture up here to clear my notes. So if we have, oh, where's my face? I must be on a different screen. Here we are. Okay, show of hands if you can hear me again. All right, thank you. All right, so you have to make the adjustments, but let me just explain it. So they said, well, we're still not sure if you want to go at 7 and 3. So I say, okay, well, let me ask you a question. I just want to show you something first. So you want to use that dialogue. I can appreciate how you feel. Is that the only thing holding you back is what we get paid? You're good with the price, you're good with everything else, all the terms? Yeah. Okay, well, let me show you something to help you to understand the commission. So the wording can be changed a bit, but the steps are all the same. So here, let me show you this. You take this out of your book, you hand it over to them, or you turn your computer and you say, so let me ask you this. If you're a realtor and you're working with a buyer, you got them pre-approved for a mortgage, you went over all the documents, they're working for you, or you're working for them as a client, and you do a search, and that pops up 6 properties. Listen, well, first of all, before we talk about you being a realtor, sorry, gang, I missed something. I skipped a step by mistake. Let me go back. You mind? So let's pretend that you had a choice between listing the property at 5 on the first 100,000 and it doesn't sell, or 7 on the first 100,000 and it sells. Which would you pick? And you have 2 kinds of sellers. One seller will say, well, I don't want to pay more than if I have to, I will. So that's good. You can have a sigh of relief with that one. But if they say, I don't care if it takes 10 years to sell, I'm never paying more than 5 and 2, right? Then you may leave. You might leave, or you may do a little bit more of what I'm about to show you. But you need to ask them, if you had a choice between listing at 5 and it does not sell, or 7 and it does, see how they respond. So then you go to the next part and say, imagine if you were a realtor and you pulled up 6 properties, you had a client pre-approved for a mortgage, and they've signed all the documents, they're a client of yours, you're working hard, and pull up 6 properties, and there's a couple of them that are less than the common commission of 3.5 and 1.5 or 7% on the first 100,000. You can change this if you want. Which one of these would you try to sell first if you're a realtor? Well, we'd try to sell the 7% because they get paid more, right? Yeah. So in other words, you'd be trying to sell your own last, right? Because you said 5 on the first 100,000, right? So why don't we do this? I don't mind. So all of you that wrote this down, I want you to go to one of the 5% right now, and I want you to change it to 8. Do that right now. Okay. Go to the 5% and change it to 8. And if you have this document, I would ask the seller, change one of those 5%ers to 8%. Okay. So now if you're a realtor, which one of these would you try to sell first? Well, the 8%. Yeah. So let's do this. And this is where you close. So let's do this. I don't mind. Let's go. And at 8% on the first 100,000, 4% on the balance. And we'll offer the bonus to the industry. We'll offer 4.5 and 2.5. And I'll just keep the 3.5 and 1.5. That's what I need to do my job. Okay. And we'll offer this bonus. How many buying agents do you think are going to try to show this place when they know they're getting a bonus? So you guys all know how bonuses work, and that's a good way. But the biggest thing is, you wanted 7 and 3. They want to give you 5 and 2. You go for 8 and 4 and you get your 7 and 3. Everyone got that? All right. So let's move on here. The next part. Oh, we had a few more left here. We had the $7. So let me show you the $7. So you should always carry probably $7 in your wallet, or 7 5s. I have 7 1s representing 1%, makes it easier. Even if I'm talking to people in Canada, that's no problem. So you say to them this. Can everybody see me? Show of hands. All right. So they'll say, okay, so they'll say, I see you want to use 7 and 3 if we're in Alberta, or 7 to 2.5 in Manitoba and BC, and then 5. And so you want to offer at least 3.22 and 1.66, or you want to offer 3.5 and 1.5, or you want to offer 2.5, right? Say, yeah, I want to offer that. Okay. So why don't we do this instead? Why don't we still go at 5 and 2 or even 5 and 3? They want to save a couple grand. And you offer 3.5 and 1.5, and you just keep 1.5 and 1.5 or 1.5 and half. Now it's personal, gang. You have to have this feeling that inside you're willing to walk away from this, because what they actually said, now get this, gang, this is what they actually said. They said they're willing to pay every realtor in that board full commissions except one. Which one? You. They said they'd pay everybody else full commission except who? You. That's personal now. Now I would probably leave. Or I'd say, okay, so you're willing to pay everybody except me, right? Ouch. That kind of hurts. Let me show you how the commissions work then. Okay, so you take out your $7 and you say, so as you know, the commissions are a lot lower after 1, so we can't touch any of that. You guys have already given up 60% of your commissions after 100 grand. That's painful enough. Would you agree? So you say on the first 100 grand, I want to let you know that we give half the commissions, or in BC, you're going to have to figure out how you do the 3.22, but we give half of the commissions to the other realtors. And if it's a bonus, we give the bonus and everything. We just have 3.5 and 1.5 to sell your house. And we're in a unique business. We don't get paid until it what? Sells. We don't get paid until it sells. Now let me overact here. You won't act like me with your sellers, because they'll never let you back, right? So you say, so let me show you what happens with this 3.5. 1%. This is what I invest in the property. On my listing checklist, I advertise, and I've also got, there's a lot of advertising, and I don't get this money back unless it sells. So this money is gone. That's my investment. I'm going to invest in your property, and that's 1% of my commission. And if it's half that or more than that, you don't have to worry about that. Just use it as a visual. But you don't say this, you show this. You notice I always keep saying to you, don't tell, don't say, but show. So that's 1%. And then out of every commission I get, or if I get one commission a month, 1% of it's probably for my expenses. Okay, I have real estate fees. You guys pay about $30,000 a year to be a realtor. That's not including your clothes and your car. That's just real estate fees. Okay, about 30 grand a year. So you say this is out of that commission, so I can pay my fees. Then we have Revenue Canada. No, I'm just kidding. Maybe that is only this half year, and maybe that evens out with some of the other ones. But really, what I'm working for is probably 1 to 1.5% of all the commissions. After I pay my expenses, after I pay my taxes, after I pay my splits, I got about this much. Now, let me show you what I use that for. I use that to actually feed, house, and clothe my kids. Now, you can overact like me if you want, but you really need to feel it. And you want me to give up my profit that I use to feed my family just so you can sell your house? I don't think so. I'm not interested at all. And if you want to overact it and let them passionately know that you're not too happy with them asking, you could do that. What else we got? We got a few more ones here. We've got, that's the $7. Then you got the WIMP agent approach. Well, we got 2% realty. They do it like nothing. Well, you can tell them they get what they pay for. And you can also tell them that, if they're willing to throw away their money just to talk to you, how fast are they going to throw away your money to just get the deal closed? That's a WIMP agent approach. Mutually lower, you've heard of exclusive listings. Some people will list at 6 and 2, and they won't put it on MLS. And they'll say that because it brings the cost down, which it doesn't. You don't need to do that. I would just say that if somebody says that they really want you to do it for less, and say, well, listen, if I don't have to spend a bunch of money on marketing, I could probably do it for less. That they brought that up and said, that 1% for marketing, you don't need to market it. It's a hot market. It'll just be sold. And you say, okay, I wouldn't mind taking a chance like that, but I'll do it if you. Now, remember, if you move 1% on your commissions, that's about 25% of your net. When you take off taxes, take off your splits, take off your expenses, take off your costs, and you give up 1%, it's about 25% of your commission check. You might take home 8 grand, but 2 grand's gone on the 1%. And you just let them know that, hey, let's go back to the net sheet. You're going to net $250,000. If you take off 25%, I'll take off my 25%, which is 1% of your commissions. They won't do it anyways, gang. Don't worry about that. Okay. So back on attitude now. So we're just, we're going to get to the good stuff here in a second. I just have to take a little bit of T here. I think I'm muted. If I'm not muted, thumbs up, please. Thank you. All right. So let's go back to our attitude. Now, the worst thing you could do right now is start to check out mentally, or worse yet, even not be here. Okay. So stay here. Let me let you know a little bit more about your attitude, how the program works. Even just how the program works is how you need to do real estate with the structure and stuff like that and the results. So let me explain that. But with attitude, just remember this, okay? With attitude, we want to make sure that adversity in your career must breed success. So let me ask you this. If you're starting to get some appointments and you start to have a few deals you're working with, and one of them, maybe the other realtor isn't as trained as you, a little careless, and the deal starts to go sideways and you start to get a little frustrated. The person calls you and you know, their time management is horrible. Their communication skills is lacking. It's very frustrating. You know what I mean? You're going to get a little bit stressed out. Would you agree? How you deal with that so you can go on your next appointment, or when you go see your family, how you can do that. You need to make sure adversity breeds success for you, and you need to learn how to deal with stuff and park it so it doesn't fester. You don't lose sleep over it. You need to admit that all of this is your choice. So you have a never quit attitude. And basically, admitting your choice, you just basically say that, you know, if I don't like my environment, I need to leave it. You might not have a choice to leave an environment sometimes. You might have to live with it, or you may have to change it, okay? But success is your choice. It really is. So a couple of tips here. Your office at your home or at your office, brighten up your work environment. Always make sure your desk is clean. Make sure you have a natural light coming in, airflow, you know, stuff like that, okay? Watch for detours. So if you have another business, real estate has made more people rich than any other business, gang. So if you can just focus on that, you'll do much better. Now, some of you do have some good legitimate businesses. If you don't have to be there in person, let's say you own a McDonald's restaurant and you want to do real estate, that's fine. You don't have to be at the other business. If you have your family restaurant, you know, hopefully you don't have to be there too and the family's running it. That's fine. Or watch out. If you have to be there, you know, taking care of the steaks and the food and all that kind of stuff, you can't really focus on real estate too much. So detours will affect your income. But don't let any negative co-workers or family members or anybody get you down. If anything, from somebody saying you can't be successful, or somebody doesn't use you to sell their house when you just thought that was a slam dunk, don't let it get you down. You have to move on. Does that make sense, gang? Because there's a lot of adversity in this business. Then notice your own patterns of behavior, gang. Notice, do you wake up on the wrong side of the bed sometimes? If you do, how do you shift back to being positive and optimistic? Maybe you go to the gym. Maybe you go for a brisk walk. Maybe you have a good breakfast. Maybe you go back to bed and then get up later. I don't know, but you cannot stay negative or pessimistic. You have to notice your own patterns of behavior. Hey, I'm telling you right now, 50% of how our attitude is just from being dehydrated. Make a note of that, gang. I hope all of you have drank by now. Hopefully you drank at least one bottle of water. Just listening to me for the last couple hours. You really need to hydrate, okay, gang? And then you need to ask yourself what you want and insist on it. So look back at that income that you wanted. That income of 100,000 a year, or 200,000 a year, or 300,000 a year, and that goal or reward of a new car by the end of October, or you're going to Mexico the first 2 weeks of November, or you want to get the education finances set up for your daughter so university starts in 2 years. You got all these things that you want, and you need to insist on it. You need to insist that, you know, this will be your best year ever. So I got another testimonial. So Cheryl was in the class and she says, thanks to Dwayne, I'm crazy busy. She actually took the course after a decade in the business. And in her 12th year, after going to my free seminar, which you guys just had right now, she knew this was the ticket to refreshing her career for the 8-week course. So she was in week 6 when she gave me this testimony, and she says, I'm crazy busy. She currently has 6 listings, so I'm trying to get you to 8. She was at 6 at that time. She just signed a 6-unit conversion building last night. She was in the course a few years ago. Dwayne shows you all the tools to be a top producer. This is by far the best return on my investment that I've ever had. And, some of you know these other realtors, right? And so you need to insist, this will be my best year ever. Go ahead and say it out loud to yourself. Don't unmute yourself, but just say this. Go ahead. Ready? 1, 2, 3. This will be my best year ever. Okay. So you want to make sure that you have that attitude. Isn't that right, gang? You want to make sure that you have that attitude of that this will be your best year ever. And I got a few more things to show you here. And just let me pull it up here. There we are. So the course is a spaced learning program. So you probably kind of think you know how it works, but don't check out yet, mentally or physically. Stay here. We're on the tail end of it, and you have to make a decision coming up soon. What's going to happen is I'm going to explain exactly how it works. I'm going to give you the price. When I log off, I'm going to send you all an email. Please check your spam filter. Okay, I'm going to send you an email. If you don't get an email from me, and you will get another voice broadcast in an hour or two down the road, just reminding you how it works if you want to get into the 8-week program. Great opportunity for you, gang, but it is spaced learning. It's 1 day a week, okay, for a few hours, just 1 day a week. But the other days, you're going to be actively increasing your income. And then we get together each week to see where you're at and to help you more, okay? And it's all designed to increase real estate agents' production. How many of you want more listings fast? How many want more buyers qualified and ready to buy fast? This is the ticket for you. And markets have been changing all across the towns that I've been talking about. You need to make sure you're focused, because we are alone out there quite a bit. You will not be alone with this class. This is what will happen. We'll probably have 3 teams of 15 or so. You'll meet with me once a week as a group, as a class. I'll give you more information, get you really motivated. You will also meet with your team probably through Instant Chat or whatever it's called. I can't remember what it's called, but it's called some sort of chat. And you'll chat with your people on your team and motivate each other and help out each other. You may be on a team with people from different provinces even. But there's a consistent result of 1 transaction per person per week or better. And I'm giving you an average. So yeah, there's a few that might do less because they're new and that they struggle for the first few weeks, but there's some that do way more than this. You know, they do a couple sales a week on a regular basis. And there's a combination of skill development. And I do have mandatory activities. So you have to print off the manual. You get access to our site, you get a password, and you'll just download this onto a memory stick and go to Staples, get them to print it off for you. Or you can print it off yourself, put it in the binder. But you got to print, you want to print off the whole thing, including the covers, have it ready for lesson 1. And you also have access to a whole bunch of other stuff like audio tracks and PDFs and all these wonderful things, tools that you're going to use, listing presentations, visible presentations, all these different things, right? But the mandatory activities that you're going to focus on bringing in some listings with my help. So I'm there to help you. And you will either talk to me personally or you'll be listening to my audio recordings to help to support you as well. But we're going to remove the option to fail, gang. Okay, we're going to remove that option to fail. And like I said, over 2,500 graduates, mostly in Western Canada. I love when I do get to other cities. I see a lot of my past students' bus benches, for example, or yard signs. It makes me quite proud because I've been doing this since 2002. Isn't that right, gang? So we're going to average 1 sale or 1 listing or both per week by doing that. So we need to put you in control. So the class will be 1 day a week, and it'll be 10 a.m. sharp to 3 p.m. Now that'll be Mountain Time. So BC, you will start at 9 till 2, and Manitoba will be 11 to 4. And the way it is, I didn't take a break today because I didn't want to lose any of you, and I lose my rhythm if I stop for this event. But for the class, what'll happen is the night before, you'll go in and put your weekly stats into Google Drive. I'll send you a link and all that, and you'll put in how many listings and sales you got, how many appointments you got, how many days you worked. It's good to be accountable. And I'll add up the team stats, and then I'll send everybody a link about an hour before, like I did today. And with this smaller group, it doesn't go into spam as much, but if it does, make sure you check your spam filter. Then at 10 o'clock Mountain Time sharp, or 9 Pacific or 11 Central, I will get on and I'll do a little pep talk. Then I'll do the stats, and then we'll get into the training. And you'll see that Whatever you thought you would do in this course, you're going to notice right away that the teams are doing twice as much as they were doing before the class, okay? So there's a new topic every week, but as I mentioned, it's based on the 7 keys to success. So we got to have a good attitude, and we have to book a lot of appointments, preferably seller appointments, to get inventory so buyers fall in our lap. We've got to get your phone to ring so you get leads. We've got to make sure that you're able to walk into a listing and walk out with a listing if you choose. Make sure it's priced right. And if we're working with buyers, make sure they're pre-approved and we're shopping in the right price range for them. We're going to be able to handle objections and concerns with all our clients so we can move forward with them. Also, how to manage your business, and also how to manage time. And then in that lesson, we show you how to write offers and present offers. There is quite a bit in there, actually. I mean, I'm not going to talk about every single thing on here, but you'll see that there's approximately 30 power tools. And so in lesson 1, we may be talking about attitude, but we also start talking about the real estate success formula and the prospecting track. And then you go out and you try to book some appointments and try to work with some buyers and make some money. Then you come back. And in lesson 2, I continue to put together the prospecting track for you and go over some open-ended questions, go over the costs of waiting, and show you how to bona fide an appointment. And then we do give you some tips on talking to FSBOs if you're interested. Then you go back out and you work a bit. We actually went over some fair trade items at the end of lesson 2 as well. But then you go out and you work a bit, and then you come back and we're online again in the 3rd lesson, and we talk about how to sell yourself in advance, successful ingredients for an open house. But most important, I guess, is how do we respond to a call that came in from an ad, from either online or yard signs or whatever. So we can show you how to do the call form so you can convert your phone calls, the returning calls, and talking to people to book appointments. It's very, very easy. And you'll even learn how to bona fide your buyer appointment and your seller appointments. And then we start going over the sales process for you in lesson 4, right? You went out again and you come back and we're doing lesson 4. We go over the listing sale process, the salesmanship ingredients, questions to ask a seller. And I kind of gave you the idea there where you got the marketing plan and what's in it for them and the comparison chart. And then we talk about the whole 7-step process, including the net sheet. And the next week, when you come back in lesson 5, we're going to show you how to price properties properly, even how to reposition properties with the price reduction if you have to for existing listings that aren't selling, and how to get properties priced right with the wholesale retail technique, and then how to finally close for a signature more often than not. That's very important to you folks, isn't it? And then even how to get a 6-month listing and use a property or a saleability checklist for people that are maybe trying to get you to list it and it's a little bit overpriced, or maybe there's things need to be done. And then you go out and you work again. You can contact me during the week anytime. You'll have my cell phone number, of course, email and texting. I've even done the odd Zoom meeting with a few people while the course is on because they needed some extra help. So we do kind of try to monitor your successes. If you're failing with your success, with what you need to accomplish, we keep track of it. And if it's not getting any better, probably about week 4, I intervene and say, let me help you. Let me do a Zoom meeting with you. I got to get you to be successful. That's no extra cost. That's just part of what I do. Lesson 6, we handle objections. As I mentioned, there's a fair bit of role play in that lesson. And then when you come back for lesson 7, we don't just show you how to build a team, meaning adding other realtors, but also how to build a team where you're embracing other companies to help you, like your mortgage brokers, your lawyers, and your home inspection company, and how you embrace your office to help you, conveyancing and different things, and how to pay your taxes and stuff. And then we go into the buyer presentation. And some might say, why don't you do the buyer presentation sooner? I want to get you focused on listings and get some inventory. How much inventory again, gang? We got it right here. We got to get 8 as fast as possible. The buyers are still falling in your lap anyways. And when you have too many buyers, I'll just show you how to trim it down. So you're just working with the buyers that are ready, willing, and able to buy now, okay? And in the last lesson, we go into time management, our most valuable commodity, and then show you how to write an offer, present an offer. And then at the end of that, we'll let you know, if you want to join coaching, or if you're good to just do some of your own stuff with your group, that's fine. We'll show you how to be successful with all that. Fair enough? Now, the program includes all the materials. So you got the manual, you're going to have to print it off though. That's how I keep the costs down on the online training. You got all the materials, but you just have to print it off. You'll have access to the audio tracks, all the PDFs, all the other videos. It's time sensitive, meaning when you're in the class, you probably have 3 months to have full access to us. So you're going to want to download and print off everything you can, because I mean, when the course is over a month later, it's meant for people who pay, that type of thing. Business is business, right? So you get materials. The dialogue, you're going to hear me say it, you're going to practice it once in a while, but more importantly, you're going to have the audio tracks that I'm going to recommend you listen to on an ongoing basis. So you start saying stuff without thinking. Wouldn't that be important, gang? Like, just to be able to look at somebody and say, let me show you how most successful sellers pick the right price. That might be just saying it just once might surprise you how much that flows for you. So you have to really learn how to use the dialogue and listen to the audio track. So space learning, September 1st, October 20th, 1 day a week, and you have activities. Now, the activities you do between each lesson is only what a top producer does. Only what a top producer does. Back to the success formula. Each week, you're going to bring in a saleable listing by booking a minimum of 3 appointments. If you don't believe, we'll work on that first. When you do believe, you will get 3 appointments a week. Then you're going to separate the lookers from the buyers. You're only going to work with people that are committed to you and that are pre-approved. Okay. And then you're going to try to sell some of your own stuff. And if you can't, if you're in BC, get somebody to help you with that or sell them something else. Okay. Unless they really want your place. So hopefully I said that right. Market updates. I talk to so many people, coaching, brokers, all that stuff. I'll get any updates that we need for each province, bring it up in class, or you folks can remind me as well. So yeah, we got those assignments. What's your assignment? Focus on bringing in what? Minimum of 3 listing appointments per week. What a great habit, gang. And when the course is over and you've reached your goal or reward for the end of October, your trip or your car, and you take a break for 2 weeks, come back on your own and go for another 8-week cycle, revisit each lesson, set a new goal or reward. And maybe you can do 4 8-week cycles a year and take breaks in between and catch your breath and have a great holiday, maybe 3 or 4 times a year. Remember, you should really only be doing, if you have an assistant, you would only be going on appointments, keeping deals together, going on holidays. If you don't have an assistant, let's say you're doing 30 deals a year, you have to do administration, all the assistant stuff, plus go on appointments, keep deals together and go on holidays. You got to go on a lot of holidays. It's almost, it's necessary for you to go on holidays if you're a realtor. So you're going to get a ton of rewards. So first, probably the biggest thing is that income. So if you said you wanted to make 100 grand in 12 months, if I could help you make 40,000 of it in the first 2 months, you'd be well on your way. If you wanted to make 200 and you become one of the top agents in the class, and you do 40 transactions, which would be 20 sales and 20 listings, gee, you would have made 100 grand or more in the class. That's already halfway to your yearly goal. Whatever you think you would do in 6 months, you'll do it in 2 months in the class. That's your main reward. Other than that, sure, you'll get a certificate mailed to you. You will learn how to manage your time better so you can have a life, and you'll have more time for yourself as well. And the more deals you do, focusing on high income producing activities, the less time you have to work. All right. So then the systems, 143 different systems with 30 power tools and 8 keys to success. So remember, we don't believe in pressure sales. I may talk like that a bit just for impact communication. That's not how you're going to be like on your appointments. I'm just trying to make sure you're taking good notes. Consultative selling is very important. You need the desire to succeed. And if you really want to succeed, you'll say, okay, I think I know all the rules. When you get into lesson 1, I'll give you the rules and you should abide by them. They will help you to have the structure to make more money. And you want to be one of the people that says, I really need some help with this career. I have somebody just joined coaching, been around a while, and that person just says, there's stuff I know I should be doing, but I'm not doing it. And I said, well, with your permission, I'll make you do it. This is basically how it works. Yeah, you have my permission, then let's get you doing it then. And so you're saying I need help, Dwayne. I just got to do what you ask me to do. I'll do it. Okay. So I thought there was one more thing there. Let me see here. No, you will do what is asked of you, or what you asked me to do is what it says. Okay. So we're almost near the end part here. So hang in there. So you can make more money at any level in your career when you take this course. So if you're a new agent, you're going to learn the proven method for success. You won't do it any other way. And the blessing I get from the new agents is I don't have to untrain you. Untraining people is tough. Sometimes people that have been around for a couple of years will say to me, we need to start making more money so I can stay in the business, but then I have to untrain them. Hopefully, if you're in that stage between the year 2 and 5, let's say, and you haven't made the income that you always wanted, You got to let go of your old ways. I had one guy I was talking to, and he was just saying, I've doing real estate for years, and I've just meet people at properties. And I said, you could still do that. I mean, there's some provinces you're not allowed to do that without going over your fiduciary duties. But before I get into that, I just said, to have a good business plan, you're better off to just deal with qualified buyers that are committed to you, that actually sign a document instead of you just trying to meet people at properties. All of us know what can happen when that happens. So they have to stop doing it their old way and go with the best way, and then they'll see results, right? Now, you experienced agents, you want to make more money in less time. I've had some people take my course every year for 10 years or even more, or over a 20-year span, 15 times, or over an 8-year time. What did that one testimonial say? Over 6 years, they did it 4 times. Only because it helps them to make more money in 2 months than they did in 6. They knew all the stuff I was teaching, but there was a few things where they said, yeah, I got to start doing that. I keep putting that off. This is motivating me. I'm on a team. I'm going to lead by example. I'm going to do more appointments. I'm going to start doing the pre-listing, or I'm going to start keeping in touch with my past clients, whatever it is. So you may have some excuses popping up in your mind right now, and I'm going to walk you through them so that if Tony Robbins says, you want to be really successful, make lots of decisions fast. So when I'm done with you here, you're either going to say, yes, I want to take the course. I'm going to take advantage of the special, early bird special, get the form into Dwayne. I'm in, let's go. Let's rock. Or you might say, no, I'm not going to do it right now. And that's your decision. So saying yes or no is better than a maybe that never materializes. I don't need to hear maybe. You don't need to hear maybe in your own mind, because it just drives you crazy. So do yourself a favor again. I hope you all get in, by the way. It'd be a great class with 150. But if say yes to yourself or say no, and let's just move on, right? So, but some people may be saying, well, it's the wrong time of the year. So you ask yourself,
right now, so I'm just
when is the best time of the year to make money?
The driver supervisor, the higher driver.
Let me
he
mute
told me
that person
yesterday
here.
He got the paperwork. He wants to give me the date.
He's got the paperwork.
Date, tomorrow, whatever, right?
Go here.
As soon as you give me, brother, you in the priority, in the top priority, I will give you a call.
There, we muted that person. How many of you could hear that person talking? He's just unmuted himself and started talking. Anyways, let me see.
This time, August 9.
Oh, you did it again. Who is that?
Mandeep called me, the super saver removed the bin because super saver was
you
not
need
removing the bin.
to mute yourself, my
we are
friend.
doing follow-up, and then Mandeep told me that they removed the bin today. Oh, they removed the bin last week.
There. Okay, so if anybody can tell who that is, just put his name into the chat room.
Remove the bin.
Oh, he came back
when they
again.
Remove the bin, there was some confusion. I don't know what happened, but I got the information August 9.
I'm going to.
I processed, everything is done.
Remove
Paperwork is done, and now we are going.
I have to.
Unfortunately, I had some family.
There we go. Okay, so I don't usually kick people out, but I have no choice there because I can't seem to mute him. Okay, mute all. All right, there we are. And let's go back here. Where was I? Okay, so some people say wrong time of the year. I'll just ask you, when's the best time of the year to make money? Go ahead and answer that right now. So that one's done.
No.
Next one is it's too far away. Well, we're going to do it online, so you can do it from the comfort of your home or from your office. Isn't that right, gang? Some people say can't afford it. Actually, the price is a no-brainer. So it's big. I said the price to somebody the other day. They said, that's really cheap. And I thought, maybe I should be 3 times higher. I'll tell you how that works in a bit. Some people, by the way, if somebody, even with the low price that you get for this, they said they can't afford it, then you can't afford not to. You honestly, that can't be the reason, can't be the cost. It has to be either you don't believe what I'm saying is true, or you're going to be gone to the Mediterranean for 6 weeks and you can't do it. It's got to be something like that, gang. It can't be the money. Want to think it over? Can you hear me right now? Show of hands. Am I muted? Okay, you can't. Wait to think it over. Well, I'm giving you a little nudge. Call it pushy if you want, but I'm going to give an early bird special that if you do not get your form in by dinner time tomorrow, which to me is enough time for you to think about it, then if you sign up after that, you have to pay full price. So you have 24, let's say plus 4, you got 28 hours. But if you know you're in, just send it to me right away. I'd love to see enrollments right away, of course. If you say you're going to miss one, we also have some of the, or not some, we have webinars for each portal. They're smaller versions. And so let's say you're going to miss lesson 3 because of whatever, doctor's appointment or something. You have access to our webinars as well. So you can go and watch it, get your notes caught up. And anybody that misses some, I usually like to do one-on-one with them, which is a little extra work for me, but I'd rather do that. So if you're going to miss 2 or 3, it's not bad. But if you were to miss all of them, I would just say wait till next year to do the course. And we don't sell any recordings separately right now. It's all be live. Somebody said I don't need the help. I just underlined that. Just say thanks for coming. I appreciate it. If you want to refer us to somebody else that maybe thinks they need it, that would be great. So I'm not going to try to convince somebody who just knows they don't need the help. Maybe you're somebody that is doing 50 deals a year, or you're doing 75 and you have an assistant. You just wanted to hear a few ideas and you're just good. So thanks for being here. I appreciate that. Another testimonial is from someone in BC from previous class, a newer agent at the time. And thanks to Dwayne, I now have confidence. Confidence may be a big thing for somebody that's new. Taking the 8-week productivity challenge changed the way I conduct my business in a positive way. I now have systems and scripts that give me the confidence to go out and prospect, book appointments, and land listings. This course focused and motivated me. I will be recommending this program to as many realtors as possible and urge them to try it. I can't thank Dwayne and my team enough for helping me to push through the tough times and come out on top. Thanks, Dwayne. So that was from Sarah. So this isn't an experiment. I told you I've been teaching since 2002 with 25,000 graduates in mostly Vancouver, Edmonton, Calgary, and Winnipeg. I know those markets like I could say the back of my hand, if you want to say that. I've been dealing with classes in those cities for 20 years, and I have regular ongoing coaching clients as I speak right now. And so here's some of the stats from some previous courses. There was a course in Calgary. You can see they had quite a few students in that one, 231 listings, 54 listings sold, 76 sales, that's buyer sales. So the total sales was 130. So the average wasn't as high as we'd like, but I just want to make it real. And they made on average about 48,000. That's a few years back now. Edmonton had a few less people, but they had maybe a higher dollar value. They had 1.42 average. So they made a little bit more, not much. Winnipeg made a lot more, but there was less people again, but more transactions. So their average was a lot higher. Just happened to be that way. You might ask, which city has usually the highest averages? It's usually Vancouver and Winnipeg for some reason. And but still, Edmonton and Calgary still do pretty good. Vancouver commissions are a little bit more, so they made a little bit more with just 27 people. Their commissions were averaging 67,000. So who in BC could use $67,000 just extra over the next 2 months? You got to ask yourself that. Who in Alberta could use an extra 50 grand over the next 2 months? So the last in-person program I did was in February, and I'm not doing any this fall, but I flew into Cloverdale, and we had 31 realtors, and we had 3 teams. Some of you were in that class that are on right now. And we did 8 lessons, and we did 498 transactions. Okay, there was 216 listings with 31 realtors. There was 282 sales with 31 realtors. So the average was 2.29 per person per week. It was very good. It was very productive. It was a hot market though. So in all fairness, for the guys that were getting listings in the class, they were getting sales fast. Okay, so, but the whole class, when I took the stats of what they did in the last year and prorated it down to a weekly average, the production for the 8-week was 279% higher than before they were in the class. So how many of you would like to increase your production 279% over the next 8 weeks? Again, I get you to buy into it more. Yeah, I want that. I want that. Just being transparent with you. I want you to want it, and I want to give it to you and show you how we can work together, right? I don't want to lose any of you if possible, because you'll all make lots of money. Another testimonial here is 15 real estate transactions in 8 weeks. I think it was 15 sales actually, but my challenge was how to make more money while having a more balanced life. This fella, Jason, has been in my training a number of times. We know each other quite well over the years. And this is an older testimony, but they recently had a son and they wanted to be more productive, especially now when we are a 1-salary household, and he wanted to have the ability to spend more time with his family. The format of my course, Dwayne's course, made a lot of sense to him. He liked the idea. And when he did the first course, he'd already been a realtor for about 15 years. Now he's been a realtor for 30 years. And he's done the course probably 10 times or more. And he likes the idea of 8 weeks of continually learning, being held accountable, and being around other positive students in this positive environment. He'd taken it quite a few times and many times since. And people always ask, why do I go back? And he says, it's simple. This course elevates your production or your productivity, no matter what level you currently have. I had my most productive 2 months ever, motivated by Dwayne's 8-week training, when I was involved in 8 sales at one time, or 15 sales at one time. you can't help but succeed and raise your income. And that's from Jason, who I know quite well. He's actually in that picture there, but this was just a picture of an Edmonton class at the Fantasyland Hotel, probably about 5 or 6 years ago. But you can see, you know, everybody's smiling there at the end. Either they're just happy to be done with me or they made good money. So I hope it was the latter. Anyways, the 8-week productivity challenge, I'm going to send you an enrollment form. So when you get it, take out your pen. Actually, the enrollment form I send you will be a fillable one. You'll be actually able to just type in all the stuff, and then you can email it back to me. And on there, you would put in your payment and your credit card information. We have a merchant account, so we do that. And you put in your ID, excuse me, your name, the company you're with. On the right-hand side where it says company tel and company this, and if it says your broker, I don't need your broker's phone number. I'm just kind of curious sometimes who's your manager or who's the company you're with. That's all, okay? And the cost of the course, before I tell you the cost, I want to let you know that if we do this right, you know that you will trust the training and you will trust me. We will try to get 8 listings as fast as possible. But while we're trying to do that, you probably get a few sales as well. You can probably count on, if you're new, you could probably count on this within 8 to 10 weeks. If you've been around a while, you'll probably achieve this by the 6th or 7th week. And if you're a veteran that does this already, you'll probably achieve what I'm about to say in the first 3 or 4 weeks. But you should get 4 sales or so, and you should get a couple of listing sales. So you probably end up getting about 8 sales either within the first 3 or 4 weeks or during the whole course or just after at some point, depends on where you're at. If you win at $5,000 times 8, that's $40,000 bucks. In BC, you might get 15 grand for a commission. So it would be more like, you know, 100 grand or whatever that is, right? So, you know, if I was to give you a referral and you got a commission, you'd probably give me 25%. And I'm going to try to get you to get about 8 sales out of this by trying to get 8 listings. And if I did give you 8 sales and you gave me 25%, that's like about 10 grand you'd be giving me in commissions, in referrals, I mean, right? So the course doesn't cost 10 grand, but it does cost almost $1,000. Okay. It costs $9.99 Canadian plus GST. But remember, as soon as you start making money, keep your receipt, take it in for your taxes. Education is tax deductible. Okay. And for those of you that give me your enrollment form, it's on my computer before 6 o'clock tomorrow night. Yeah, 6 o'clock either or. So it doesn't matter what time zone you're in. 6 o'clock, you will save $300. So I think we almost went to a no-brainer here. You will pay $6.99 plus GST for all of the stuff that I said, okay? And I just want to read a poem here, then I'm going to stop the recording, okay? But let me just mention one other thing. If you didn't get the enrollment form, call me. And you're going to take a screenshot in a second here so that you have my toll-free number or my cell number or my email address. So training@DwayneGroomSeminars.com, right? Or if you have to go to my websites, it's DwayneGroomSeminars.com or AdvantageTraining.net. There's contact Dwayne, right? So what you want to do is make your decision, first of all, and I hope it's a yes. And then you want to get me the enrollment form. And then you want to reach out to me somehow to make sure I've got it. And then we'll go from there. That sounds fair? And the poem I want to read is this. The poem is called Bride White of Hair. Now, Bride White of Hair is stooped over her cane while her footsteps need guiding. Did I say her hair's white? Okay, maybe gray, if you know what I mean. So older lady, bride white of hair, stooped over her cane. Her footsteps need guiding. She needs some balance. While down the opposite church aisle with a wan, toothless smile, her bridegroom in wheelchair comes a-riding. Now, who is this elderly couple thus wed? Well, you'll find that when you look a little closer, here's that rare, most conservative pair that waited until they could afford it. So you know what, gang, don't wait, because you'll just end up never doing it, obviously. You need to let me know today if you want to take your career to the next level. So fill out the enrollment. Let me know if you need this. Let me know if you want this. And God bless you, and we'll see you all in class.